Dinah Minus,
Present.
Raul Garcia,
Present.
Alyssa Sena,
Present.
Cody Rivera,
Present.
Joseph Dominguez,
Present.
Councilor Marvin Martinez,
Present.
Councilor Benito Pacheco.
Present.
He's back there. Oh, okay.
Shaking hands.
We have a seat for you up there, Councilor. Now, before we actually call the meeting to order, I'm going to ask Danielle to come up. I'm going to ask you all to stand and raise your right hand and be sworn as members of the committee.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the State of New Mexico, and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Las Vegas? Furthermore, do you swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties as a chair and/or committee member of the Finance Advisory Committee to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Now, we have some action items that need to be voted on. Before that, we need to elect a chair and a vice chair. Now, I can't nominate, so I'll start off by asking if anyone would like to nominate or volunteer for the position of chair, and then you can take over the meeting. Mr. Witters?
I nominate Dinah Minus for the position of chair of this committee.
So maybe you should put that in the form of a motion.
I make a motion that Dinah Minus become chair of this committee.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. I'm gonna take roll call on this one. Robert Witters,
Yes.
Dinah Minus,
Yes.
Harold Garcia,
Yes.
Alyssa Sena,
Yes.
Cody Rivera, Joseph Dominguez.
Yes.
It is unanimous. Congratulations, Dinah.
Thank you.
You have an agenda in front of you?
I'm sharing with Alyssa.
Okay. Then the next on the agenda would be the election of the vice chair. And then if it's okay with you, we'll do all the introductions of you all and staff. So you would open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Okay, I'd like to well, we call this meeting to order already, but I'd like to not, is there any motions on the floor for a vice chair?
Ms. Minus, I'd like to ask Izo Pacheco if you'd like to be vice chair.
I'm not sure as ex officio if you are eligible to be officers, because you're not eligible to vote, so.
I do have a point of clarification, Mr. Madrid.
Yes, sir.
So as ex officio, are we able to still nominate or make motions? Or is that?
I don't think so, because you're not allowed to vote. You have a seat at the
That's
table
right.
to express anything, discuss anything, and be included, but not vote or hold office.
That's what I thought.
Okay, good.
Anybody?
That's right.
I nominate Joseph Dominguez. Make a motion to nominate Joseph Dominguez for vice chair.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Mr. Dominguez.
Thank
Is
you.
there a vote? Can we take the vote? Roll call. You
Roll
did?
call.
We did a voice vote, yeah.
Everybody's in favor? Everybody in favor?
It was
say
unanimous.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion passes.
Now, next on the agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Chair, with your permission, I think it would be appropriate for each one of the members and officers to introduce themselves, a little bit of background. I know that we all don't know each other yet, but we will be getting to know each other.
Do you want to start with,
Yeah, I can go first. Steal this from you. How's it going, everybody? My name is Cody Rivera, newly appointed member. I'm glad to be here. A little bit about myself. I currently am a full-time employee at New Mexico Highlands University in the Facility Services Department. I've earned my degrees, my undergraduate and graduate degrees from Highlands, my master's in finance. Previous to that, I served as the student regent on the Board of Regents for 2 years at Highlands. Currently sit on the Lodgers Tax Board for San Miguel County. And I'm excited to be a part of this committee, so looking forward to the work and working with the city and the staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Dominguez, and I appreciate and thank you for the opportunity to serve as vice chair. I've been a lifelong resident of Las Vegas. I am a proponent of higher education. I am an administrator at New Mexico Highlands University. I got my undergraduate and graduate degrees there. I am currently a doctoral candidate in higher education administration, and I look forward to working with all of you and bringing that experience to city government and specifically in the finance area, so I look forward to that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the audience. I think most members of the audience know me. I'm Benito Pacheco. I'm a city councilor for Ward 2. Like the two gentlemen to my right, I also work at Highlands University. I hold an MBA from the university, well-versed in finance, and I look forward to working and improve. And not to say there's a deficiency, but I think that from my perspective, if we're not improving, we are dying, so to say. So I look forward to working with each and every one of you that's on this committee. It's an honor sitting up here with you, and look forward to getting to work. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alyssa Sena. I am a lifelong resident of Las Vegas, particularly Cainas Canyon. Born and raised here. I went to school at Robertson. I'm an alumni of both Luna and an NMHU, and I'm currently attending classes at UNM as well. Got to get another degree under my belt. I bring to the table 13 plus years of banking experience. My most recent position, I was a financial coach at Guadalupe Credit Union. That's what inspired me to kind of run for the advisory committee. In that position, I got to meet a lot of people, and I got to work with a lot of the underserved community, people who didn't have great credit. They couldn't get financed for anything. They couldn't get into homes. They couldn't get into cars. They had trouble renting. Those are the people that I helped. And in working with them, I got to see a lot of why they were struggling so much. And so again, that was kind of my inspiration to kind of get involved and try and help them on the backside. I feel like it's very important. I am also a new business owner. I am the owner of Resiliency Financial LLC. It is a bookkeeping business. I also do notary services and financial development. My priority is to help small businesses to not only thrive with their financials, but to also thrive with their, just to kind of maintain their finances, build everything. Statistics show that small businesses don't last past 5 years, and that's because of financials. So my goal is to, again, help them develop financially. So that's a little bit about me, and thank you guys so much.
hello, my name is Dinah Minus. I have sat on this committee for I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. I'm also an NMHU alumni and a retired business manager for the West Las Vegas schools. So I bring about 30 years of experience in working in admin. And I'm happy to see everybody with the full house here today. That shows that there's a lot of people that care about the city of Las Vegas. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harold Garcia. I am currently a county commissioner for San Miguel County. I will be completing my 8th year at the end of this calendar year. I'm currently also the chairman of the county commission. I'm serving my 6th year, consecutive year as that. Prior to that, I worked for San Miguel County. I was a public works director for 16 years. And before that, I worked at the city of Las Vegas for 15 years. My last job with the city was a solid waste director for a bit over 4 years. There's much more that I could say about myself, but for the most part, that in a nutshell, that's my background. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good afternoon. My name is Marvin Martinez. I am the councilman for Ward 4 here at the city of Las Vegas. I was appointed by Mayor Romero to become a city councilman about 2.5 years ago. And I ran for the position. I won for the position, so I'm holding that seat at this point. I was a former West Las Vegas School Board member for almost 9 years, a little over 8 years, and I served with, of course, Bob Witters and Dinah Minus here and Christine Ludi that didn't make it today to this meeting, but served with them as well, and this as a committee member for finance with them at West Las Vegas Schools. So my goal is just to make sure that we're on the right track. I think just like Councilor Benito Pacheco mentioned, it's already in a good movement. We just need to take care of the finances and move forward and make sure that consistency remains in our community. So anyway, I'm going to pass that over to Mr. Witters. Thank you.
I'm Bob Witters. My wife and I live here. We moved here full-time about 16 years ago. We're retired. My previous life, we moved here from California, Silicon Valley in California. I was chief financial officer of several high-tech startups in California. And so if anybody needs any expertise on mergers and acquisitions and global financing, let me know. I think I can still remember how to do that, but I'm guessing not Las Vegas doesn't have much of that to do at this point. Been a member of this committee for a while and have enjoyed it, and I look forward to continuing in my role in this committee.
Madam Chair, one item that we need to go back to is the actual approval of the agenda. So,
Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as written.
Do you have a second?
Second that.
Motion passes.
What?
Do we move on then? We do
All
have
in
a
favor?
second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I'm new at this, okay, so I'm a little nervous, please.
Thank
there
you, Madam
anything
Chair. The
else?
motion passes. Our next item would be public input. We have none today.
Okay.
Our next item, our first discussion item, is I left an item open for either the mayor and/or our manager to address the committee as your first meeting. I don't think the mayor's here, but our city manager, Robert A. Anaya, is here. Mr. Anaya?
I'll just stand here, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, our Mayor Pro Tem is here, and so I think I'm going to defer to Mayor Pro Tem to make some comments on behalf of the mayor, if you would, Mayor Pro Tem, and then I will make a few additional comments after he finishes.
He's not available today.
No,
Not available.
Councilor, he's at another
Okay.
commitment. Yeah.
I know that Mayor Romero wanted to go ahead and get this committee started. It's been a while that we've had a committee meeting. Is that correct? I'm not even sure when the last one was held.
December.
December was the last
Yes.
one? Wow, okay. So I know that, that Mayor Romero wants to go ahead and he started several committees at this point and renamed a bunch of new people to a bunch of different committees for the city. This being one of the most important committees, I believe, the financial backbone of our community. So on behalf of Mayor Romero, I just do want to welcome all of you guys, and I am happy to see that you guys have accepted your positions as members of the committee. And Mayor Romero, again, he usually does attend most of this stuff, so I'm actually kind of surprised that he's here. He's not here today, but on behalf of Mayor Romero, I got to give him a lot of credit because he is one of the most responsible mayors that I think we've had in a long time here at the city. And I'm saying that because every time I come by here, he's here. He's pretty much a full-time mayor, but he does, of course, he doesn't get paid for that. But he's always here making sure that this community is in the right direction. So a lot of things going on with our community. I'm glad to work with Morris. I haven't been involved in the finance committee before, but I know there's several of you that have. Mayor Romero would be proud of this team today, and I appreciate all of you guys attending. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a few brief comments from myself. Financial solvency, clean audits, procurements, it's paramount to the city. That's why the whole team behind me is here today, from our department heads to provide additional background information in concert with our finance director. I plan on attending the meetings when I can and to support the finance director and be here present for questions that may come up from committee members as well. But I'm going to work in a support mechanism to our finance director. Very thankful for your willingness to participate. I'm excited that the mayor has decided to have two counselors present in an ex officio manner. I think that adds an additional level of not only responsibility but credibility to this whole process. And so I'm going to be in and out this afternoon, and with your indulgence, Madam Chair, I'll be pulling some of the staff to deal with some key issues that we're dealing with right now, but look forward to learning from you and working with you.
Thank you, Mr. Anaya.
Yeah.
I know. Madam Chair. If you don't mind, Manager, would you introduce the directors that you have behind you to some of the new members that we have here, please?
Absolutely. I think I'm going to allow them, if you're okay, Madam Chair and Counselor, to go ahead and have them introduce themselves and pass the mic.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Lucas Marcus. I'm the Community Development Director and also the Parks and Recreation Director, along with a few more departments.
Good afternoon. My name is David Marcus. I'm the Gas and Solid Waste Director. Thank you guys and welcome all aboard.
Good afternoon. Travis Martinez. I'm the Water Wastewater Director. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Caleb Marquez. I'm the Chief of Police, and I also oversee Animal Care Center. And Animal Care Center, just like Lucas, I have tons of different things. I'll go over them another time, so you'll see a lot of our budget coming through. But thank you guys for being on board.
Madam Chair and members, I'm Daniel Gurila. I'm the Public Works Manager. Our director couldn't be here today. It's Arnold Lopez, but I'm happy to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Consuelo Gallegos, and I work in the Human Resource Department. Welcome, everyone.
Good afternoon. I'm June Tafoya, Community Services Director, and I oversee Senior Center, Library, and Museum.
Good afternoon. I'm Adele Ludi. I'm the IT Manager. Good afternoon. My name is Jimmy Size. I'm the Program Project Outreach Liaison.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Salas, and I'm the Public Information Officer for the City of Las Vegas.
Good afternoon. I'm the Deputy City Clerk. My name is Danielle Sena. Our City Clerk couldn't be here today. She's Cassandra Frescas.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Andrew Duran. I'm the Deputy Fire Chief, sitting in for Fire Chief Steve Span.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Chastity Garcia. I'm one of the general accountants here with the City of Las Vegas. I've been working with the city for just about 2 years.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Trujillo. I'm the other general accountant here. I've been with the city since January of 2024.
Madam Chair, go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, our deputy director is not here today. His name is Dominic Chavez. He has about 7 years with the city, I believe. He's got a lot of experience in both higher education and local government accounting and finance. He's actually been the acting finance director here at the city a few times and is one of the backbones of our department. I have over 40 years of experience. I've started off in public accounting as an auditor. I worked for the state of New Mexico, Highlands University. I've been the vice president at Luna Community College, city manager in a few different cities. And that's where I left my hair. And now I'm back here. And I want to make a comment about your team because, you know, I think all of us have been involved in teams in one way or another. And the winning teams always have two things, youth and experience. And that's what our team has. And I'm very proud of them. You will find out as time goes by what a strong and cohesive team we have. We are always open to any questions and ready to provide any information. That's one of the themes of the mayor, council, and the manager is transparency and honesty. And that's what we're here for. So does that conclude our introductions?
Yeah, my closing comment is that the team is at your disposal today, and at any time, if you would like to dive in deeper to the individual departments outside of that meetings, please know that our team will work with their teams to provide you whatever information that you request and need. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Madrid.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, what I'd like to do now is kind of give you an overview of the process I'd like to use for today's meeting and then get your feedback and see if it's okay with you. It'll be simple, informal, somewhat detailed, and one of the reasons we have all departments here is for the detailed questions. I'll give you an overview of everything. Some funds are a little more complicated than others. Some are kind of no-brainers. You know, we budget this $5,000 every year and we spend it. Some are supported by transfers, some are general funds, some are enterprise funds, some are special revenue funds. So what I'd like to do is talk about the process that DFA requires and the process that we use to develop the budget internally. And then from there, actually go page by page through this, not 10 minutes a page, sometimes 10 seconds, sometimes 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the level of, I don't know, complication with the fund or the level of questions. Some departments are administrative in nature. Finance is one of those. We do the same thing every year. We process, we enforce the rules, we prepare checks, we run payroll. It's kind of routine compared to some of the other departments like water and public works that have major projects going on every year and specific funding for those. So if that's okay with you all, we'll proceed that way. And at any time, if we're getting stuck or if we're going too fast, just let us know. We'll speed up or we'll slow down. But, and if there's any questions that you think of later, like I said before, give us a call. So what I'd like to start with is our manager talked about our audit. That's one thing that we will be bringing forward to you as a committee for your review. It has a lot of information on it. Just real quickly, I'll tell you that all our opinions for all reports, including the financial report, are unmodified. That's the cleanest opinion we can get. We are up to date. We reduced our number of findings from 7 to 2. We have no material weaknesses. Our findings were in documentation for cash receipts and in procurement, authorizing a purchase before we had a purchase order. They're fairly common and routine. We are working actively, proactively to teach and train all the employees in the city to prevent that further. Sometimes people just take an action without knowing the rules. But we will bring that audit to you and we will get copies for all of you to study.
Morris, are any of those repeat findings?
I'm sorry?
Are any of those repeat findings?
Both of them are.
Both of them are?
Both of them are, yes. And it has the amounts in there. The amounts are not large dollar amounts.
No, they're not.
But it doesn't matter, they have to be reported. Going to focus on our budget that we're going to look at here today is this process is required by the Local Government Act. The interim budget is the only one that has a deadline by statute. The final budget does not, but the interim one does. It is due to be approved and uploaded into the DFA system by midnight on May 31st. What you have before you is our preliminary budget. One thing that I'll point out is that most of the time, there's not much change between preliminary and final. The major difference is that in the preliminary budget, you'll see in a document in a few minutes, we start off with estimated cash balances for July 1st. For the final budget, those numbers have to be exact. They have to be to the dollar. They have to match our final quarterly report to the dollar, or DFA won't even look at the rest of the budget. Those numbers aren't exact, it's automatically rejected. So that's the goal of the preliminary budget, is to get a pretty good understanding of where we're going to stand at the end of fiscal year 27, June 30th of 2027. You'll see the worksheets. It's kind of strange that in today's age of automation, the worksheet that we have is a huge Excel worksheet with different tabs for departments and funds. They all have to tie together with links. If the police budget expenditures is 3 million here, it has to link correctly to the summary. And if those links aren't properly working, the budget doesn't balance, and we can't even submit it if it's not in balance. So really, the process internally is I start off by providing all the department heads a 3-year history of what they have spent, line by line, and then a column to put in their request. It's really simple. The part that takes time and is a little more involved is when we meet with them to review those requests. And a lot of our department heads have multiple departments, so they need to come prepared to discuss all the different programs that they have. Now, we listen and discuss changes in programs, expansion, special projects, and we also look at the history ourselves. And if we had $10,000 budgeted for office supplies in the last 3 years, and the most they've ever spent is $4,000, then we'll cut some of those too. So we look at both sides. One of the things that, one of the criterias that we use is reasonable and necessary. If it's those two things, absolutely, we should consider it. If it's unreasonable or unnecessary, then that's a separate discussion. And everything that you see in this document has been considered to be reasonable and necessary. There are things that are more complicated that the department heads will explain to you. They discuss their new initiatives. You will especially hear about that or see that in our document in our water department in relation to not just the new water treatment plant, but a lot of issues that are connected to that. One thing that we have stayed away from for the last 2 years is nobody's allowed to say, that's the way we've always done it. We don't do, that's not a way to budget, and I know that with the directors, that's not a way to operate. So we've made a lot of progress. We now have stability in the management team, and for me, that's real refreshing because they know their programs. They're not taking over for someone and trying to figure it out. A few things that I want to highlight that you will see consistently throughout the budget is increases in compensation. Those were all approved through negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police, the Association of Firefighters, and the Association of Federal, State, County, and Municipal Employees AFSCME. So those were all through negotiations. The employees that are not part of those were also given compensation increases that were equivalent to the AFSCME. Another thing that we've done that is going to reflect a lot in here is prior to this year, benefits, insurance, especially health insurance, was budgeted on an individual basis. And what we found is, for a few reasons, we don't always know the premium that the state is going to provide before our budget deadlines. We have turnover in certain positions that may be someone that has single coverage is replaced by someone that wants family coverage, which is a lot more expensive on the employer side. So we went to a system based on a percentage, which would allow the budget to absorb any cost, whether it's single coverage or family coverage. So we will probably have some savings there, but we did not want to be caught short in any department on the benefits side. So you will see major increases there. That doesn't mean that it'll be spent. It means that we do have the capacity.
What percentage did you use on the benefit side?
They were different for, want to go over them, Anthony?
Let me take a quick look. Do you want the total benefits?
I heard him say that you dealt with benefits on a percentage basis.
The total is 35% overall.
So for
35% of compensation is the total for the benefits section, and that's pretty common in government.
Did you review the budget, Mr. Withers?
Yeah.
You did see the little formulas going across the 6.2, the 1.45, and so
Right.
forth? Okay.
Yeah.
But are you meaning like the insurance? Because to me, what really changes every year, did we budget accordingly to whatever the percentage of increase of the insurance? Because that's one that
Right.
goes up every year.
Some of them
So
are
you
standard
did-
and do not
right.
change. For
Okay.
example, the FICA doesn't
Right.
change.
But I'm
our
talking health
retirement
insurance.
does and our insurance does.
Right, FICA, those ones don't, but I'm saying like your health insurance, those
Right.
ones do go up. So was that, thank you.
So we got an email earlier this year stating that for FY27 that the healthcare, it was going to go up about 15%. So that's what we accounted for, was a 15%
So when
increase on
you put it together,
everything.
you went up to 15. What about SUDA? Did you budget accordingly for the SUDA? Remember, because I think a prior year we didn't pay it, and now, so we had to pay that big bill last year, or was it last year? Yeah.
Yeah.
So did we did, okay, and we took care of SUDA, we're not in the rears or anything like that, right?
The general liability and property insurance, we don't
Yeah.
have the final premiums on
Okay.
yet. We
The
did
risk
estimate
management.
them
So we're
according to
good on
last
that.
year. Yeah.
Pay increase, did everybody get a pay raise this year? Every single employee? How many FTEs do you have, okay? I know that there's a lot in here that says vacant and, you know, so to me, those aren't live bodies, okay, because they're not, there's nobody in that position. But for
Everyone-
some reason, you do put them in there, but what do you have as for FTEs? What is a real number?
We have 281 employees at the end of April.
Thank you.
Everyone not on probation, everyone that has completed probation will be in, if they've not gotten it, would be entitled to an increase throughout the year.
That was my question, just because when I did go through it, I just see like some are here and some are there. And I know you're mentioning different, to me, I was used to, I come from, you know, a different, where everybody was the same. Everybody got a 3%, everybody got a 5%. Here, I don't see that, and it's been like
No.
that for as long as I've sat on this committee, you know what I mean? But maybe I'll
Right.
get used to it, maybe I won't, maybe I'm still gonna ask that question. So my concern is, is everybody getting a pay raise? And your answer
Everybody
is
got
yes,
one?
yes.
And I'll give you an example. In the Fraternal Order of Police, they went to a tiered system.
Okay,
So they gave us their members that are gonna go to the next tier during the year. So we adjusted to what that will be. For all the other employees, we did budget their actual plus the dollar that everyone gets every year. So they are budgeted to allow that, yes. And last year, like I said, everybody that was in a bargaining unit or off probation did get an increase, yes.
one last question. In every program director, you met with every single one of them to make sure you budgeted accordingly for their department?
In the document that you have in front of you, the S1 form that is right behind the budget itself for each department, we reviewed that S1 with all the directors, yes.
No further questions.
I have a couple more questions, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, Mr. Witters?
So how did you handle vacancies in your budgeting process? For example, the police department has a bunch of positions that show people's names, but they also have a bunch of positions that show vacant. Is it still the policy of the city to budget for all vacancies, even though you haven't filled those vacancies for 100 years into the past?
Right. When can that go away? Because we see that. I mean, right now, to me, it's like there's a lot of revenue. There is, you know, if I look at last year's and I compare it to this year's, this just continues to grow, I mean, from last year. But those positions, I don't know if you're ever gonna fill them. So why do you continue to want to budget for them?
Well, and solid waste is a really good example. Those positions are filled now. We budgeted for, I think it was 23 of them last year, while only 8 were filled. Now they have 23. So the ones that we do intend to fill and will try to fill, we will budget. In the S1s throughout the document, you will see some that are designated as frozen, probably not fillable and not funded. So those are how we separate those. You'll see that in the document.
So, for example, with the police department, all the positions that are shown as vacant, the intent is still to fill those positions?
Yes.
Because my contention is that you always, I'll just kind of say it absolutely, you always budget too high. And you have a surplus, you have underspending in your budget each year, and it's mainly because the inability to fill vacancies. And I think the police department's a pretty good example of that. They have a ton of vacancies. Is there a better way to budget than that? Please, fire is the same way. I think I saw a bunch of vacancies under fire that probably won't be filled, simply because you can't find employees, right?
Well, and fire is another good example. If you compare vacancies last year to now, a lot of them have been filled because of the compensation increases granted by the council. So we are reducing those vacancies. No one ever gets to 100% filled. That's always an evolution. I'll give you an example. At the state hospital, their vacancy rate runs from 7% to 22%. And it depends on wages, it depends on what shifts are available. There's a lot of variables. We have reduced a lot of the vacancies there because we only budget once a year. We can adjust our budget down. The difference between local governments, state governments, and federal governments, for example, the state of New Mexico, if you work at the Department of Health and you formulate that budget and it's for $16 million, that's really small. But you get to the end of the year and you didn't fill all your vacancies and you didn't spend $3 million, that reverts back to the state. That goes away. In our case, it doesn't. It stays in our reserves. So we don't lose it if we don't spend it. And we do try and redirect it. We have a fund that was created last year for general fund savings. So while it may not be spent on personnel, it may be spent on special projects. And that was the case last year. So yes, we'll never get to 100%, but if the higher we fill our vacancies, the more budget capacity we have to have, and that's what we do. We build capacity.
Madam Chair, if I may. Yeah. You know, given the explanation from Mr. Madrid here, being the fact that the budget gets to be rolled over into local government, right? As long as they're not adding new positions to each department, and maybe they're not filling them, but the fact that they can reallocate or continue to budget for that line item, I think it's a good practice. And at the end of the year, if they want to reallocate or they want to make a special project, I believe that to be a good practice as long as they're not adding new positions every year. Like if the budget's growing because they're adding new positions that aren't getting filled, that's one thing. But if they're doing that, I believe that to be a good practice, yeah.
Sometimes they do.
Okay.
But
You
my,
guys are right.
my
It does
understanding is they don't allow that to happen here. For some reason, is that true, Morris?
Don't
That
allow what to happen?
you
New
do not
positions.
allow, for example, of the police department, that is underspending by $800,000 as of the end of last month. You don't, and most of those that savings is because vacancies haven't been filled in the personnel side. You don't let the police department use that $800,000 for other stuff, do you?
If it can be justified, yes. We discourage using salary and benefit savings for other things because what we don't want is for departments to build up a big savings and then buy new vehicles or get all new office furniture. We want it to stay where it was intended to be spent as much as possible.
The frozen. There's a frozen here again. Explain that again. Why is that frozen?
The frozen designates that the position will not be funded, but will be held in place because any changes to the organizational chart have to be approved by the governing body. So we don't want to affect that. If we understand that we may not fill or we may not need a position, we don't fund it, but they'll remain in place until the org chart is changed.
Councilor Pacheco.
Thank you, ma'am.
So may I clarify? So, I'm picking on the police chief. So police chief, if I heard you right, Morris, he can take the 800,000 savings that he has right now because he has not filled vacancies, and he can spend it on non-recurring. I understand that. You don't want to create a whole new budget that's going to go out into perpetuity. But he could spend that 800,000 on something else if you approve of it?
No.
Okay,
That
then
is not automatic. That is.
No, I don't mean automatic.
That is a big obstacle that he would have to present to myself and the manager, and it would have to be something that it would be essential to the operation. not just something convenient or something brand new and shiny. That's not gonna work.
No, I understand that.
But no, that's not, it's not automatic, and to say that he could do that, no, there's
And
there
I didn't
has
want
to be a
to imply
lot of
automatic.
justification for it.
You would have to get approval. But the reason I'm making a big deal out of this whole point from my perspective is that many years ago, when I first started serving on this committee, I got a copy of the audit report. And I started reading through it. Literally, I fell asleep 8 or 9 times reading that thing. It's so boring. But I got to the back, and there was this incredible page that said the city of Las Vegas was sitting on $50 million surplus in the bank they could spend on stuff that moment. And the reason I believe that's the case is because the city, the way it budgets, is it almost guarantees that there will be a surplus at the end of the year. And that surplus gets added to the cash in the bank each year. And $1 million this year grows to $2 million next year, grows to $3 million next year. And the way I see it is you're depriving the citizens of the city of Las Vegas the stuff that could be done with that extra cash. Now, I know you can't spend all the cash. I know you have reserve requirements that you have to meet and things like that. And Morris, let's just talk the general fund. Is it the cash in the bank going up this year because we didn't spend all the general fund money?
It always does at the end of the year. But
Not always,
to your
but
point,
yes. Not
Mr.
always.
Witters, we always budget more than we bring in. We always budget some of the reserves every year.
But you don't spend it. Somehow, the budgeting process is not in the citizens' favor.
Well, and that's all perspective. I mean, if you
Oh, I
brought,
know.
if you brought Dane Rauscher in to help us get a new bond rating, we get a better bond rating in the position that we are if our reserves were a lot lower. So there's a balance there between good investment and cash management and expenditure of dollars.
Okay. I'm done.
But there is no misspending though, Mr.
No,
Morris.
I do not imply misspending, nor am I suggesting we
No.
light cigars
No,
at council
no,
meetings
but
with
there's-
$100 bills, okay?
And it could be lack of continuity because we've seen the finance department go
Yeah.
through a lot of
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
right? And at least now we do have, I'd love to see these two individuals sitting here. We've seen them now for the 2 years. And I'm so grateful, and the same thing goes for Mr. Morris here.
Madam
That there's
Chair,
continuity.
to that
They can
point-
grab a hold of the budget now, and now
Yeah.
you can start going forward. But when there wasn't continuity, maybe it was for the best that it didn't get spent, because you really want somebody that knows what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? And making sure that those numbers are correct, what they are reading, and they're not leaving 6 months out the door, because that's what we saw with the finance director position. We saw it for, I don't know, how many years, 3 years? That
Now-
it was just like, please stay. We kept begging everybody that was sitting in that
Another,
position.
another
So-
variable in that point is the city that I know of, and over the last few years, I'm gonna say 5, maybe 10 years, has generated more outside financial support than ever before. And I know that Travis was here. He and the mayor and the manager will be going to New Mexico Finance Authority meeting next week to accept over $40 million in aid grants for water meters, water storage, and all these other things. And that is throughout all the departments. The city is getting money for a new animal shelter from outside sources. That means we don't have to spend our money. So if you had the choice, would you spend your money or somebody else's money? In our case, we spend other people's money, and we're good at it.
Well, okay, so 2 more questions real quick, and then I'll dismount, really. Just so that newbies on the committee know, the city has a general fund And you can see where those funds come from, taxes and things like that. The city also is a little bit unique. It has what's known as enterprise funds. Those are fee-based programs. There are 4 enterprises, right? Water, solid waste, liquid waste, and gas. Thank you. And that's what's known as the enterprise funds. And those are fee-based. So they're not tax-based. They're paid for by the users of those 4 things. Morris, the general fund, this year, we got what, 2 more months, 1.5 months to go for the fiscal year. What will be the surplus in the general fund at the end of the year, roughly speaking? Your guess, your estimate.
Between $1.5 and $2 million.
Okay, and that gets added to the $9 million from prior years?
Well, the $9 million from prior years doesn't stay there throughout the year. It fluctuates. It's a running balance like your checking account. It'll change from 9 million to whatever the balance is this year. It may be higher, it may be lower. I'll give you an example. If we have a lot of capital projects at the beginning of the year, July through October, construction season, our cash balances will drop significantly.
No, I'm
And then they'll
talking
come
just the
back.
general fund.
I'm talking about the general fund.
No.
Because we do have projects within the general
Yeah,
fund.
okay, we do.
And we do buy equipment within the general fund. Say we bought 7 police cars that cost $500,000. That cash will drop with that one check for $500,000. So there's fluctuation throughout. It depends when you take the picture of the account.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
I think that Counselor was next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just had a couple of questions and a comment. So just from the council perspective, in terms of the budgets, I realize that the vacancies, the line items for certain staff positions can be somewhat challenging. But I will say this in my experience with government, that once a line item is gone, it could be gone forever. It's maybe tough to get it back in there. The other thing I want to say in terms of the particular departments that have a higher vacancy rate, which is fire and police, public safety, those line items, those positions are a bit tougher to fill. Across the board, it seems like. It's kind of like education. Teachers right now it's kind of hard for some districts to fill them. However, those specific jobs require there's a level at which there's a standard. So we should have so many officers for a city this size, whether that's fire department or police department. So I think that's the reason that those ones typically stay so high. There's those 2 variables to consider. Now, the other thing I have a question on, Mr. Madrid, is we deal with 3 bargaining units. Within those CBAs, is there any part of the agreement that requires bargaining to remove a vacancy, a job title from budget?
Yes.
Okay.
There is. And for the most part, it's hard to remove a position without the consent of the bargaining parties. And that's an issue because they want to get all the members they can, absolutely. And they want those members to be compensated properly. So we generally do not reduce bargaining positions without that being a negotiating item. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to clarify that, being familiar with bargaining in other areas. It's typically what happens. So there's that other variable of
It's just that we've seen it on there for a long time because we've sat on this committee for a long time. So that's why we ask those questions.
Yes, ma'am.
When is it going to change?
You know what I'm saying? When,
Yes, ma'am.
because you're just, there's just money sitting there and you're not gonna use it because, oh, we might hire this person. We haven't hired him in 10 years, but we might hire him next week. You know what I mean?
And I respect that perspective
Yeah.
as well. I'm not falling on with either perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe that it doesn't do us any good to hold money. If we could spend it for the betterment of the community and the betterment of the citizens of Las Vegas, I think that's part of what we're here to research and identify ways to do that as well.
Wonderful.
And right now, I would say, sir, you got $8 million to do that.
No, there's.
Now, we're gonna argue,
we
right,
come-
Morris, over that number?
Absolutely.
We come and
Absolutely.
We will.
We push and we push and we push. Every month, we sit here and we say, when's this number gonna change? Who's working on this project here? Because there's X amount of dollars sitting here, and the fiscal year is gonna be ending pretty soon, and blah, blah, blah. So we're here to push that, because we don't like to see money just sitting there and it's not being spent. We don't wanna see it rolled over. They gave it to you for a purpose, use it. Correct.
And yes, just to explain our position in the finance department, our job is to make sure that number one, it's available, number two, it's procured properly, and number three, it's spent within the boundaries of the law.
Yeah.
And the decisions as to how and when it's spent are largely outside of our department. We are the guides, we are the internal cops of finance. We need to make sure that it is done right. That's what our job is. And that's why we have a lot of our department heads here today, is to explain what those projects are. Many of them are multi-year, and many of them are funded from outside entities. So we will highlight those, and we will talk about where we have appropriated money for the types of projects that ultimately, it's the governing body's decision. And they've started that process with a retreat that they held recently. And I believe that'll continue. And you'll ultimately see more of the spending that you want to see, where we have resources saved. This is what we're going to do with them. And that decision comes from the highest level.
Councilor Martinez.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just wanted to make a comment in reference to vacancies within fire and, of course, public safety, police. And a lot of those vacancies are reoccurring because you got people retiring. You've got people moving up in position. And it allows those vacancies to reappear, I guess, along with fire. Those are, it's going to be a continuing thing. It's hard to say that we have a police and fire department that is 100% full. It'll never get there, if I'm correct in saying that, because just what I've seen and I've heard as long as I've been here, it's a very tough position to fill. You've got people that do not want to go into public safety and so forth, but I want to also move on, but I just wanted to make that comment that those will never, probably ever get filled.
And I could see those two areas.
Right.
Because you don't want to close those. We need them.
Yeah.
We need them.
Right. No, definite.
So just to, I did forget one thing on my comments. So I agree that when there's funds, let's use them. I mean, obviously, everybody's driven around town. There's a lot of roads out there that can use some fixing. But, and I just say that jokingly, I think we've moved a long ways in terms of that. But logically, I think if you look at the average rate of vacancy for government is about 10%, right? So outside of public safety, maybe there is room to say, okay, we should budget. We know there's going to be about a 10% vacancy at any given time, 5 to 10%. Anything more than that, that's regularly there, how do we resolve that challenge? So that's part of my perspective. I think that lends itself to what part of the committee's thinking.
Well, one input I would give to you, and again, you probably heard, my experience is private industry, not government. And gosh, you guys move so slow.
I would agree, I would agree with you there, sir.
Yes,
But my comment to you is that I am not necessarily an advocate for changing the budget. I am an advocate for changing a policy, if that's what exists, that as we get through a year and we discover that there might be this nut, right now it might be 800,000 in the police department, that there be provisions for the police department or anywhere else in the city government to do a one-time activity for $800,000. Not that we're gonna totally change the budget for next year, because we want those people, we want to fill those vacancies. But we have a process that says, hey, we're gonna rebudget $800,000 from this year's budget for that activity, and it's gotta be approved. And I am not an advocate for waste, fraud, or abuse, but I think that would be a cool thing if we had that process. And I know, Morris, you started that last year. You reviewed the budget, and you reviewed where there might be savings in the budget. You looked at it about 8 months into the year, right, or something like that, wasn't it?
Right at mid-year, we actually did a budget adjustment in February.
Yeah.
And some of the new vehicles that you see came from those savings.
Yeah.
Things
And I
like
think
that.
that's a
Building
wise
improvements.
idea.
You did
And
a sweep. It was called a sweep, right?
Kind of, yes, yeah.
Any more questions?
Okay, so the final part of
Excuse me.
of our process.
We have Mr. Garcia that.
Oh, I'm
would
sorry.
like to-
Mr. Madrid, I just have a question. And maybe I'm out of sequence with my experience with budget. But when I ran a department here at the city, I would propose X amount of dollars, and it was an enterprise fund, by the way. I submitted a proposal for X amount of dollars for that year. And I like your process where you do the average of the last 3 years. So you give 3 years, average it out, propose this year based on that average. It works every time. But I know that there's gonna be times when there's excess, like Mr. Witters alludes to. In the enterprise fund, the way that we were used to doing it, that money doesn't roll over back into the enterprise fund. Sorry, I stand corrected. That budget does roll over into the enterprise fund within the other 4 enterprise funds. But it's part of the general fund. And
No.
No, but
They are
it's-
not part of the general fund. Each enterprise fund, water, wastewater, solid waste, and gas are their own fund.
Right,
And
right.
they do not leave, they do not revert, they stay within
Okay.
that, they are each a business.
So that happens within the enterprise funds, right? But the
Right.
general fund is different. The general fund, if you have the police department, they pull out of the general fund. The same as Public Works, the same as the library, the same as the senior program, they pull out of the general fund. So at the end of the year, the police department, if they have 800,000, like Mr. Witters is alluding, based on my experience, that money then rolls back into the general fund. It rolls out of the police department and into the general fund. So those $800,000 don't stay in the police department, it goes back to the general fund. And then,
Actually correct.
and then the general fund, you as the budget manager, you show the council, okay, so we were able to roll over 800,000 from the police department into the general fund, but in the library, we had an over expenditure of $100,000. So we're gonna have to make that $100,000 somehow. So there's money in the general fund that's rolling back into the general fund. So now we need to supplement those departments that overspend. But of course, the over expenditure has to go through you, has to go through a process, has to go through the council. So I don't see the respective divisions or departments rolling over 800,000 every year, 800,000 a year, and then 5 years later, they have, for example, the police department would not have $800,000 times 5 years, because all of that reverts to the general fund, am I correct?
You're exactly correct.
All right.
Each department within the general fund resets to zero every year.
Right, okay. So then in the enterprise funds, the way that we used to do it, we used to have an equipment replacement fund. And any time that there was rollover money, for example, $800,000, so then that money went into the equipment replacement fund. And if the respective department had a desire to buy a Packer truck, for example, solid waste, over the years that they had excess money and they had this equipment replacement fund, once they had enough, they could use that money to buy an extra Packer truck or extra solid waste bins, stuff like that. But it was to stay within that enterprise fund, am I correct?
That's correct. It's
All
the concept is the same. The process might be a little bit different, but you're gonna see exactly what you're talking about, especially in the enterprise funds, where we transfer from their operating fund to a gas construction fund or a solid waste construction fund for those kind of improvements.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else have any questions?
So the final part of the process is that once we have a good draft, then I sit with the city manager and we go through them page by page to see if they're good enough to present to you all as a preliminary budget. Again, this is a living document.
Right.
The cash balances need to be reconciled and made to their true balance as of June 30th. We're going to have some funding that has not yet been determined that's going to come from the state that we'll need to incorporate into the budget before it's final. Our senior center is a perfect example of that. I have that in here. It got here after our deadline for this one. There will be some changes. Any recommended changes today, I'm going to make note of, to be considered to put into the final. Okay, we won't amend this document, but we will consider them for final budget. And that's how we got here today. That's how we got to this document. Now, if it's all right with you all, what I'd like to do is just flip through the document and give you the highlights or changes or lowlights, if there's some, for each department and each fund. And if there's any questions, major questions, a major explanation on a project or an initiative, then we can call up one of the department heads to come and answer your question, if I can't. So, if that's okay with you, we'll start with the page by page. They're not numbered. The property tax budget supporting schedule, this is a requirement by DFA for disclosure, and it shows the report that Las Vegas falls under for the city under San Miguel County. That's just a disclosure that is required. Our property tax revenues are one of our main revenues in the general fund, and that's a disclosure requirement. The main page that when I was at DFA I would look at is the one that says rounded to the nearest dollar. It has our fund titles, fund numbers, and the columns that say unaudited beginning cash, investments, revenues, transfers, expenditures, estimated ending cash balances, reserve requirements, and adjusted ending cash. These are our estimates on the cash. They are not true balances. They are estimated as to what will be as of June 30th. Now, the reason that this is so important is because we have to estimate our beginning cash balances and our investments. We add our estimated revenues to that, add or subtract any transfers. Those transfers that you see, budgeted transfers, that column has to net out to zero. Those are all internal transfers, and they better balance to zero. Then we subtract our budgeted expenditures. That gives us our estimated ending cash minus our reserve requirements. The adjusted ending cash balance has to be zero or positive. if we have one single negative number in that column, the budget will be rejected. We cannot spend more cash than we're projected to generate or we have on hand. So this is the most important page of the budget. Any red numbers in there, and we get rejected. So this is the summary of all of the funds and all of the budgets.
Mr. Witters has a
Hey,
question
Morris.
for you. Morris?
Yes.
Local reserve requirement of almost 2 mil. Where did that come from?
That is a reserve requirement by DFA. This one is also an estimate. The final budget document requires that the beginning cash balance dictates what this number will be, and it has to be 1/12. We have to have the first month of operating expenses in cash on hand.
So it's 1/12 of what? Because I can't get 1/12 of any of the numbers
No, on this
along the
one-
general fund line there.
No, on this one, it's also an estimate. It's not an exact percentage yet. For the final budget, it better be an exact percentage.
So what did you base it off of then?
And it will be, this was based on our
Last year was
budget.
1.3. Last year's 1.3, but this year's 1.9. I'm sorry, I just made a
Right.
quick copy of last year's just to see what the comparisons were
Yes, and this is only an estimate. It's
Yeah.
not based on anything yet.
on anything. You just-
Right. But for the final budget, that number better be 1/12 of our total budgeted expenditures and transfers, both. So
Okay. And
if
it's
we have
1/12, not 2/12.
1/12.
1/12, okay.
1/12, yes.
Next question and last question. Investments column.
Yes.
The way this is written, it implies to me that the general fund line says that we have 9.6 million bucks in the bank in cash, and we have 16 million in the bank in investments. So the general fund has available to it $23 million of money that we're just sitting on.
No, the cash balance that you see in the first column
Yes.
is for normal operations. That is not sitting idle. It has to be available for payroll, for projects, for benefits, for anything.
It's too much.
It's the investments, that one, those numbers are not moving. These cash balances in the first column move every week. Every time we have an accounts payable run, every time we have a payroll run, those numbers are gonna change week to week,
Are you talking about the estimated ending cash balance or the adjusted?
beginning and ending. Yes, those are available for spending. The only ones that are not available for spending are the investments.
And the investment line, is that invested at the secretary, or the state's treasurer's office? What, I forget.
62 million? Yes.
Okay,
The other ones are at local banks.
got it.
Okay? Okay. Our next report is a general fund budget, revenue, expenditure, and transfer summary. These are a summary of all the budgets by classification. Finance, administration, public safety, cultural resources. They're just reclassified to those categories. The important one that I want to highlight on the next page is the general fund revenues. And you will see the general fund revenues in the gross receipts lines and property tax lines. The increases from 1.6 million to 1.75, 5.5 to 6.2, 3.5 to 4 million. In one case, we have a GRT that has dropped because the tax got reduced through a sunset, I believe. The rest of them are fairly routine till you get down to the administrative charges. And this one we reduced the administrative charges throughout some of the line items to reduce the burden on the enterprise funds. Because these administrative charges, when they were formulated, we didn't really, I couldn't find a basis for what these dollar amounts were. It looked like they were done based on what was necessary to help the general fund at that time. And I know that's been the practice of the city, over 20, 30, 40 years to do that. In this case, because the general fund doesn't necessarily need that support, we tried to reduce it because it's disproportionate. For example, in one of the funds, we found that the total transfers out to support administrative functions for that was over 16%. And we thought that is way too much. Way back 20 years ago, the city used to charge a flat 11% rate for the enterprise funds. So this area needs more study. And one of the things that I'm going to ask of you all is to come up with a methodology and maybe a policy as how to determine what the administrative support that the enterprise funds should pay for, whether it's a dollar, whether it's a percentage, whether it's based on revenues, expenditures, or cash required. But for right now, we did reduce some of those, and has the general fund is picking up more of its own burden by doing this. So we did reduce the burden on the enterprise funds through these. On the next page, you'll see general fund transfers, and to the point of using general fund savings, we did create this general fund savings fund number 230 last year, and we're utilizing it again this year. We're transferring $1 million in there, and this is mainly to be determined by the governing body's priority list. These are not designated, but they are available. So there's $1 million there for projects. On the next page, you will see the judicial budget.
Excuse me a second before we get going. Again, one of my hot buttons. At the very bottom, the city of Las Vegas is paying $150,000 a year to pay for us being naughty with the housing, low income housing, right?
Right.
Cool. Would it be wise to take some of that very large surplus that we have, according to Bob, and pay off that? What we're down to about probably a little under 3 million that's still owed on that, right?
Well, let's say it's 3 million. I don't know the exact number.
I'd have to look at the audit report.
Well, let's
yeah.
say it is. But if we took that 3 million and paid it off, then we wouldn't be able to spend that money on Bob's projects this year.
Yeah, but we're not spending them on Bob's project now, so.
It's interest free,
Yeah,
so why
that's
should
true.
we pay it now and have that, so we can have our resources available now instead of not have resources available now, maybe and maybe not have them later.
Well, it would create another 150,000 a year that you could spend on other stuff than pay the 150,000 a year to pay that down. I understand, it's a loan, interest-free loan, and that's a good thing. But it also means that we have 150,000 in the general fund less that we can spend on stuff for the citizens of the city.
And we would have 3 million less this year if we paid it off.
No.
But
it's a
if we did
balance.
pay it off, if we did pay it off, would we be eligible then to not
For
be?
housing.
Right.
No, this is a settlement of something that happened in the past. It's not a condition of getting future funding. It's just, it's a judgment, basically. So we don't have anything to gain by paying it off early, is what I'm saying.
Madam Chair, I know we don't have anything to gain just yet, but I'm a strong believer that if we made that payment in full and we opened that avenue to housing or HUD again, maybe that would be a prospective angle or avenue for new housing. I've always wanted to make payment on that completely, but I understand the 0% interest. I mean, we're using their money to just pay it off at our leisure, basically. But I would prefer to have an angle into new and modern housing that we can get in the future for our community. So, I mean, that's still up in the air, and I think maybe there's a way to wash that out eventually through people in Washington and so forth, but at this point, it's gotta show up here, yes.
Well, and to that point, Counselor, I don't think that this is inhibiting the city in any way. I haven't seen any initiatives by the city to regenerate or start a new housing initiative. But if that were the case, then this would be a simple budget adjustment and writing of a check if the city did choose to take that route. I don't think this is an obstacle, is my point. So that's I wanted to highlight that transfer from general fund savings into that account. The 230, we'll see that a little bit later. In the municipal court budget, the only change, as I said before, is going to be in their benefits line item. And you're going to see minor changes of $500, $1,000 here and there. I'm not even going to address those because they are so minor. And you know, for those amounts, we do absolutely trust the department head's discretion on those. In the governing body budget, the only increase that we have is to their travel budget, and that's because this governing body has been a lot more active and a lot more proactive in observing projects and initiatives, and I'll use the water treatment plant project as an example, where they've made actual site visits to look at plants like that. That's the reason for that increase. On to the mayor's budget, same thing. The only difference that you'll see other than the travel is the increased budget in the insurance for a now filled position within the mayor's budget. In the city manager's budget, we have both increase and decrease. One of the increases for an additional position for the program outreach liaison that was authorized by the governing body. You'll see also a decrease in the budget for maintenance of buildings and grounds. So that again meets the criteria of reasonable and necessary. Going into the city clerk's budget, you'll see an increase in the equipment line item, and that's for the purchase of laptops to replace older ones. In the city attorney's budget, we have not been able to find a staff attorney, yet that position remains funded. And we also have in the attorney's fees professional services line item, that one we keep until we can hire a staff attorney, but it has been reduced from $275,000 to $150,000. Attorney fees has undergone a significant decrease in spending over the last 3 years. So that's a good thing. In human resources,
Excuse me. What, if I read this right, in the attorney's budget, we have budgeted for an attorney and we've budgeted for a contracted attorney.
yes,
Why do we budget for both?
so that we
Why-
don't have
I
a
thought we
break
had one or the other.
in service. If we budgeted only for contractual, we can't hire someone. And if we did have one, we would budget lower in professional service for attorneys because we would only need specialists. But until then, we only have contract attorneys.
You know, so why don't we, with the knowledge that we don't have, we're not paying a salary, we take that excess leave the salaried attorney in the budget and then just take the excess that we're not using because we don't have a salaried attorney and pretty much zero the 150,000 for contracted. It seems we're double counting.
It'll never be zero.
No,
Because
but
we
it'll be
do
a
have
whole lot less than
specialized attorneys
150,000.
for water rights, for civil rights, for union negotiations, for all those different things. It'll never be zero. We always have to have attorney fees budgeted.
Oh, our attorney.
Even though we have a staff, if we had a staff attorney.
The union contracts?
No.
Why not? Geez, so much. Okay.
Yeah, everybody's specialized in any
All
more.
right, well then, get rid of hiring an attorney and just have contractual fees. Of four
Just a
attorneys, maybe, or
recommendation,
something
right? I mean,
Because it
because
appears
you
you
could
might
always
count.
do a budget transfer anyway.
Okay,
If you,
let's-
if you
let's move on.
did do it this other.
Now,
But it's
there's
just-
someone that knows that this is a flexible document. Thank you, Madam
I'm just
Chair.
saying,
Yes.
It's not impossible.
I know it
You can do
isn't.
Yes, you can do it, but.
Now, in our Human Resource Department,
Yeah, let's move on.
you'll see an increase in training and seminars. That is not for the Human Resources Department itself. That is where the city manager is undertaking an initiative to expand training for all city employees. And there was one that was held earlier this year, I believe, for all city employees. For example, one of the speakers was our state auditor. And that was a good presentation in the procurement area, which was one of our findings, to at least give an overview of all the rules that the city has to comply with. So that's what that initiative is for. It's for expanded training for the entire city. In the finance department, the only expanded initiatives we have are, again, compensation and benefits. We really don't have any additional initiatives. The things that we will be undergoing are conversion to electronic processing. That's not costly, so it's not in our budget. It'll save time, but not necessarily save money. So we don't have any changes there. In our community development department, we do have, again, additional spending in the benefits area. We have some vacancies there that are intended to be filled. Again, those are positions that have to have a certain skill level that are hard to fill. Finally, in our police department, the additional compensation and benefits that you see is mainly due to the collective bargaining agreement. This year, last night, the council voted on the second year of that bargaining agreement, and that was to increase the city's contribution to the PERA retirement without any fiscal impact. We really just cut up the pie a little bit differently so that we budget more payment from the employer side and have less withheld from the police department's paychecks. So you'll see some increased line items. I'll just give you a couple of examples. The fuel, of course, we're allowing for extra costs, especially now, in each department. Hopefully fuel costs drop, but at least it looks like for the beginning of the year, at least there's going to be some increased fuel costs. In the police department for the subscriptions and dues, that's for a software that they have to renew the license for every year for the Tyler system. It is specific to law enforcement. That's why it's charged within the police department now. It used to be part of the general services budget, but because it is specific to the police department, we put it in their budget this year. And then they have some other increases that are reasonable in their furniture and equipment and vehicles. They will be replacing some police units, and that's going to be the case every year. They have to replace part of the fleet, and part of it comes from here. The next department is, let me see, code enforcement. Code enforcement also has an increase in budget for benefits, but overall, they are one of the departments that actually cut their budget this year, just by a little bit, but they kept it flat. And that's always a good thing. The next one is. Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Mr. Madrid,
Yes, sir.
code enforcement, I mean, I do want to say I'm a bit concerned that it's flat because some of the feedback that I get from the community, well, one is areas that need code enforcement. And two, well, I realize it's a legal process and there are other variables to consider, but the timeliness in which we can respond to some of those code enforcement issues. Now, in speaking to, and I may be I may not have all the information, but in speaking to some of our code enforcement or people within the department, I've been informed that some of the challenges they face is the being a bit underfunded. So if their budget is flat, I have a concern. I think that's a priority for the city when we talk about public safety and beautification. And again, I think it goes to some of those surplus dollars that potentially we see. And how do we put those to work for us now? I just want to make that as a comment. I mean, I do have a concern. I think code enforcement does have to be a priority for the city.
And to respond to that, Counselor, I don't think that funding is the issue. It's mainly staffing, because if you look at the S1, we do have positions funded, but they're vacant. They're not filled. So we do have the capacity, we just don't have the personnel. And I don't know if you want to refer any specific questions to the director, but I don't think it's funding in general for the department. I think it's staffing. And if I'm off base, somebody correct me.
No, he's 100% right. Another thing that we gotta look at is last year they were awarded 3 brand new vehicles. So it's not so much funding, it's just personnel for sure. That nobody applies for that position. That's another thing. So maybe one of the big expenditures we could think about in the upcoming years are gonna be cameras. But those are gonna be pretty up there in cost involved. We've already been looking into it, so we're looking at almost 200 and some thousand for that stuff. So that's one of the things we're coming up.
And I would like to add to that, I think that enforcement is what really needs to be looked at. You know what I'm saying? I'm just have a little bit of background about that, but I'm just saying, it needs to be taken more serious. Maybe that's what you're running into, Counselor, you know.
Well,
It's not that it's lack of.
And I just want to make sure that we have the adequate
Training,
resources.
do they have enough budgeted for training? That would be a concern, and just the enforcement of those positions in that department.
Well, I have been sending them to get certified to be in zoning.
Awesome.
Zoning officials, that'll help us network with other code enforcement departments. Actually, we have one of our officers become actual certified zoning official just this past training that they went to in Silver City. So we are trying our best to get them out there. I think the big reason why we have stayed flat is, again, they didn't have vehicles when they came to us. So now they got vehicles, they have resources to get out there a little bit more.
Because who do they answer to?
They'll answer to me right now.
They're under community development.
Madam Chair, I wanted to point out something that, Chairman Garcia mentioned, that, the rate of pay for those vacant positions is pretty low. Maybe if we found a way to increase that, we could fill those positions and have more code enforcement available to our community, because I think these are areas that are not being taken care of, and I think it puts the city at a deficit when we can't do our job right, so, anyway, that is.
If they get a certification, get them a pay increase. You got this, you're a certified zoning official. Is there, a pay increase for getting that
Yes,
certification.
there is, there's a
Yes.
4% increase in council.
There's what, 3, 4 positions available, one frozen, as a matter of fact, right?
Right.
So I think we need to find a way to fill those.
That's the key, Counselor.
Yeah.
Or have one less and pay more for the rest.
Yeah. Moving to the animal shelter budget, the only increase that was requested there is in their other professional services. From the 60 to 75,000 that you see there is primarily for veterinary services. And of course, they have to be cared for on a routine basis. But one thing that I learned is some of these animals are kept by court order. So they have to be kept alive. And that can be expensive. That can be in the hundreds or even thousands of dollars for one animal. I've seen that. This is a reasonable request, and it has been utilized a lot. In the fire department, the only increase there is for their compensation. That's part of their collective bargaining agreement. So you'll see the increase in salaries and benefits. Every other category was kept pretty much the same and is being utilized. The fire department, again, is one that has outside funding sources that you'll see later on in the budget. They are for specific purposes. The fire department and police department are much the same in that way. They are not major sources, but they are essential. In public facilities, you'll see a major increase in their salaries and benefits. Now, this is going to be because there were 3 positions, a director, a manager, and administrative assistant, that were previously paid for from the Street Improvement Fund. The Street Improvement Fund is funded primarily by gross receipts and gas tax. The gas tax in that fund has been dropping significantly for the last few years. That fund can no longer support these employees, so they were moved to the general fund, which is appropriate because these 3 positions work for all of public facilities, not just streets. So it's a cost-saving measure, and it's a more appropriate cost accounting measure. We're matching the position with the purpose. Within that department, you'll also see a reduction in the maintenance of streetlights. That project is progressing. I believe it's for the replacement of regular lights with LED lights. That will result in savings on electricity and better lighting. So that's the highlight in there. In our Parks Department, you will see increases in salaries and benefits. They are now fully staffed. The governing body granted them, out of our cannabis fund, some major equipment purchases last year. They are requesting additional equipment this year. This probably will not be funded by this department. You will see requests for purchase of equipment in some of our other capital funds, or maybe even the cannabis or opioid fund again. So they will be requesting more equipment, but it will not be charged to this budget. At the library, the budget is almost exactly the same. In the equipment line item, you see the 125,000 repeated. That's for the HVAC system that the design is almost completed, but this will not be completed till next year. So that's why that 125,000 is there. That project will not be completed this year. In the museum, much the same thing. The increases are only in compensation and benefits. There is actually a reduction in the maintenance of building and grounds.
In the general services budget, you'll see an increase in full-time salaries and benefits. This is because of a new initiative that was established by the city manager for fleet maintenance. So we don't have to take our own vehicles out to be maintained and repaired by outside entities. We could save a lot of money by doing it ourselves. So half of the fleet supervisor and half of a general mechanic position are paid for from here. The other half are paid from the enterprise services funds. So they split it in half. It's the first full year that we're going to do this, and we're trying to develop some history to find a better costing method to make this work better. But that's where those salaries and benefits come from. We also saw some increases in our subscription and dues. Those are for the municipal league dues. They have gone up significantly. Our insurance and bonds, we don't have those premiums assessed yet. They normally come in July or August. We budgeted what we paid last year. We can anticipate probably a 5 to 10% increase, but we have enough latitude because at the beginning of the year to make an adjustment or just transfer from another line item where we need to. The rest of the budget remains pretty much the same. One of the highlights that you'll see.
I have a question for you.
I'm sorry?
So, and I don't know if this is for Chastity. So have our FTEs increased from last year or decreased? Wait, are you the one that pays like the payroll taxes?
Give me 1 second,
Okay.
let me pull it up.
Our FTEs this year compared to last year have stayed the same. Last year, they did increase in a couple of different areas. We did add some code enforcement officers, which we haven't been able to fill. And we did add the liaison from the manager's office. We did add that one. So we added, go ahead.
Last year, April of 2025, total employees that we had hired was 243 compared to the 281 that we currently have hired.
So
So there was an increase in hiring.
All right, well, that's a good sign because that means we're spending money, right? And positions are being filled and there's work out there that's getting done, right?
Yes.
All right, that's quite a bit.
It is a lot.
Yeah,
It is a lot.
from
It's a
last year to
big
this year,
change.
that is a big change.
People want to come and work for the city now.
Sure.
In the general services line item, you'll see in the 774 category, it says maintenance of buildings and grounds, mayor and wards. Those are allocations for governing body members for their own initiatives. And these, the allocation is $250,000 per year, and this money is allowed to be carried over. These are estimated carryovers. They will change by the final budget to be updated, but they will be a minimum of $250,000. If there's any project carryover, it'll be added on there. You see that some of them have balances higher than that. Those will go down as we actually pay expenses. And then we get to,
Excuse me, I got a
Mr. Wooders?
question, Morris. So the general fund in review, you're proposing a negative budget. You're proposing revenues of 21 million. You're gonna get 2.2 million from transfers, but the expenditures add up to 27 million. So we're looking at a $4 million-ish negative budget for next year. Is that correct?
I wouldn't call it a negative budget. I'd call it a budget as revenues plus reserves, to your point.
Yep.
Spending money, it's
I'm
doesn't
getting
sit there.
there.
Okay,
And so we're gonna spend 4 million-ish from reserves, right?
correct.
Okay.
We may end up generating that extra money in our actual revenues because we are conservative in estimating our revenues. You would see that for this current year.
Mr. Trujillo?
The transfers are actually transfers out, so it's more.
Oh, a
The 2 million
positive
The 2 million of transfers is
is a positive transfer is an out, and a negative transfer is money coming in.
correct.
That fixes some problems in my brain. Okay.
Revenues are credits and expenses are debits.
Okay, so a positive transfer is out of that fund. Okay, thank you.
Moving to our special funds, these ones were,
Negative budget.
these ones are a lot less discretionary. In our corrections fund, we did reduce our revenue and expenditure estimates because we are utilizing this fund a lot less. Prisoners are being held less at the jail than previously. So we've reduced both sides of that one. And lodger's tax, we've reduced the revenues by a little bit because we're starting to see them flatten out a little bit. So our goal, and this is going to be a discussion with this committee, is the goal for this budget was to keep in reserve 1 year's revenue. We had way too much cash in there. We've spent it down, and we're going to spend down to that 1 year reserve level. If this committee thinks that we should adjust that, then we can. I think anything from 6 months to a year is reasonable, but that's how we came up with these numbers, and they were distributed in a way that works for the lodger's tax initiatives. One of the things that we have done is the lodger's tax is absorbing a lot more of the 4th of July fiesta expenses. So you'll see that in here also. And
Excuse me, but I see on the overtime,
yes,
you have budgeted 150,000, and this year you have 80,000.
yes.
So what are the year-to-date expenditures thus far to date? Is that what you're basing the 80,000
Well,
on?
the overtime is primarily for the
Right.
fiestas, but for smaller events also. When we get to the fiesta fund, you'll see there's money for overtime in there also. So eventually we will close out the fiesta fund. Go ahead, Chastity.
Yeah, so we're basing it off of this year because with lodger's tax, you can only pay certain employees out of lodger's tax for overtime. So we over budgeted last year, so we're
That's why you're bringing that number
budgeting
down
it
for
down
this
this year.
Okay.
Yeah, the lodger's tax statute says that you can only pay law enforcement, police, fire, and sanitation. No other expenses are eligible.
Sure.
Yes.
Mr. Madrid, I have a question. You have lodger's tax infrastructure. Is that for infrastructure improvements through lodger's tax?
Yes.
How does that work? I'm curious because I've always known that happens, but I'm curious how.
The allocation is determined by a percentage of the revenues within
Okay.
the statute, and it has to meet certain criteria. It has to be kind of a destination. The common term used is it should put heads in beds. Somebody that's going to want to come and stay overnight. For example, if it's a morning art show, that wouldn't qualify. They'll come and they'll leave. But we have spent that on the decorations on the Riverwalk. That's considered a major draw that may cause people to come and stay overnight. Improvements to the plaza is another one. We may see some of this go towards reconstruction of the gazebo. That's the kind of criteria that has to be met.
And what percentage of the total lodger's revenue can you use for infrastructure?
I am not sure. Go ahead.
20%.
20%? That's a good number. Thank you.
Another question on that. The lodger's tax income can be clawed back by the state if not used in 2 years. Is that correct, Morris?
It's not can be, it will be.
It will be clawed back. So it behooves the city to spend the lodger's tax money and not let it build up. Because we might hit a threshold where the state's gonna claw it back and say, "Ah, you guys didn't spend it in 2 years, you don't need it."
That's exactly right. And we were, over the 2 years, the governor allowed an exemption because of COVID. So we got back under the wire this past year. So yes, to your point, yes, we do need to make sure we do not accumulate more than 2 years of cash.
But we've been doing better on that, right?
Yes.
This year was better.
Yes. I think the projected balance last year was about 1.1 million. This year it's gonna be under 800,000. So we are doing better with that. In the, also the Lodgers Tax Fund will now pay for the event coordinator entirely out of this fund, which is allowable. In the State Fire Grant Fund 203, the final funding has not been received and incorporated into the budget yet. That is an estimate. The Medical Services EMS also is estimated to be at about 100,000. We don't have the official documents yet. These will be incorporated into the final. In the LEPF Fund 215, these, we do have these numbers. These will be incorporated, well, these are incorporated into the budget, and they'll be used for the purposes designated by the chief. They are all reasonable and allowable, and these do not come from the general fund. They come from the state. In the Street Improvement Fund in 216, this is where I told you that revenues are diminishing, and that's in the gas tax, not in the gross receipts tax. And I don't have a good answer for you as to why. I don't know whether the state distribution is changing or whether the federal distribution from the federal government to the states has changed. Many years ago, the cities were funded gas tax, and Commissioner, you'll remember this, Garcia, they were funded directly from the federal government for street improvements. Well, under the Richardson administration, that changed to where the federal government now sends local government portions of gas tax to the DOT. That's why we have increased funding in municipal arterial money, co-op money, school bus money. That's more administrative at the discretion of the districts. And we've been doing well at that also. But that is part of the reason that the local governments don't get the amount of gas tax that they used to. So for that, we moved those 3 positions back into the general fund, like I talked about before. And the reason for that is this fund has to operate on its own, just like an enterprise fund. It's different than an enterprise fund in that it is for a specific purpose, and it has to have its own cash balance. This will allow that fund to stay solvent. If we didn't do this, then it would have gone into the red. Our budget would not have been approved.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Madrid, I have a question. Does the city still assess a franchise fee?
Yes.
And does that go into the street improvement fund?
No, it goes into the general fund.
Okay.
And those are for P&M, Comcast, all the state allowed franchises.
And what percentage, what's the projected revenue, or is it sizable or not really?
Give me a second, and I can tell you it's in our general fund. It has its own line item. And one of you is gonna beat me to it, so go ahead. They're good.
So we are at a balance of 739,000, so 740,000.
Okay. So does that go into improvement of streets because it's a franchise fee for work on streets?
No, it's a franchise fee in general.
I know, but
like P&M.
But for them using our right of way, right?
No, it's for them to be able to operate without competition, like P&M. Our agreement is with P&M to provide electricity. No one else can come into the city and provide electricity without our permission, much like a cable company.
Okay, I always understood it different, so
No, it's a franchise. There is a gas tax. One of the things that the legislature always introduces and always gets killed is a local option gas tax. That would give us the opportunity to enact our own local gas tax, but it never gets past the legislature. The franchise fee is for allowed monopolies, basically.
Madam Chair, so, Mr. Madrid, is there a franchise fee with the, like Moro San Miguel, in the city of Las Vegas? You said P&M earlier.
Yes, I don't know. I
And the
can't
reason-
answer that. I don't know if they
And the
pay a
reason why I'm gonna
franchise
say
fee.
that is because part of our community operates on Moro
Yes.
San Miguel.
Yes, they do. And
So how can we
they-
investigate that, or what?
I can follow up and give you an answer.
Okay.
That's not hard.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure about the agreement in place. Go ahead.
We do.
We do?
Collect franchise tax from them. We collect from P&M, Comcast, Quest, Plateau, and then Mora San Miguel.
Those are good answers and quick. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, she's got the general ledger in front of her.
That's awesome.
The expenditures overall in the street improvement fund have been decreased so that we can remain solvent in our cash balance. I did have a discussion with the city manager that this does not mean in any way that our street maintenance and street improvements are not a priority. One of the directives that he gave me just this morning is to let's find resources to keep improving on what we're doing with streets. So that's just a general statement, doesn't have anything to do with the budget, but it is still a priority. Going on to the next one, the general fund current savings. That's the one that we established last year. And then this year, we have a couple of different transfers. Back in 2002, when, it was approved in 2002, there was gross receipts tax on the local ballot, the local election, to build phase 2 of the recreation center. That's a 1/8 of 1% tax that was dedicated to pay for the bonds and the financing to build it. So they built it, and this past year we paid off that financing. The tax is still in place, but the proceeds of that tax have to go to major infrastructure repairs or improvements or equipment to the recreation center. We can't take that tax and throw it in the general fund and combine it with anything. So on this page, you see recreation center improvements dedicated for $678,505. That's remaining cash and revenues that are coming in for that, but are dedicated to the recreation center. Within our unrestricted savings, we have a $1 million transfer. We have some cash in there already. That's why you don't see revenues. These are from transfers from the general fund. So there will be $2 million available in there. $678,000 is dedicated to the recreation center only. So these are resources that are going to be available for governing body priorities.
So Morris, how much does the rec center cost?
That's next page.
The citizens of Las Vegas to run, because the rec center does not generate enough income on its own.
No rec center does. But the total is about a little over 2 million.
1.4.
Currently, 2 million.
So, am I understanding the citizens of Las Vegas are taking $2 million out of their general fund to operate the rec center, is that correct?
It's almost that much. They do generate some revenues.
Yeah.
But compared to the costs, they're minor.
Okay. There are 4 ears here that I wanted to hear that number.
But we need that facility,
I
right?
have two of them.
You got two.
Okay.
Well,
I just don't like that we've always kept like a different budget, why, because it's always in the negative and it makes it seem like, oh my gosh,
Well, then-
now we have to pump money into that.
And
I would
to your
just,
point-
I've always said, just transfer that whole budget into your general fund and be done with it, because every month, somebody will ask a question on it. You know, how much did you have to transfer this month to keep that facility running? We need it. It's a necessity. I don't know why, but
It's a quality of life issue. I agree with you 100%, Madam Chair. And I want to quote my good and dear friend, the late Henry Sanchez, who said, "You can build rec centers or you can build jails." And we built a nice rec center. But you're correct. We should just make it part of the general fund,
That's
and
right.
maybe that's,
why see a negative every month?
maybe I can make that one of your projects. And make that recommendation to the council.
Yeah,
Because I agree, it should be general fund.
right.
There's other
You're not gonna do
departments.
away with it.
There's a police department that doesn't generate any revenue, and we don't
We
wanna
need
close that
it.
one down.
Right, we need it.
So, again, in the rec center, that's the next page. We have increased, budgets in general, but over the last few months, you've seen, and I wish I could say I've seen in person more, but they've seen expanded days and expanded hours, expanded services, more attendance, better quality service. Those things cost. This year, it's affordable because we did have some remaining cash in there. So, that's the reason that it is presented to you this way. If you have any questions, specific questions about the initiatives, our director, I'm sure will be back in a little while, that's under Mr. Marquez. But that's where these additional costs are coming from. They are fully staffed. They stay open till 10 o'clock instead of 8:30, I think. They open at 5 in the morning. They are now open Saturdays and Sundays. The swimming pool has remained open constantly and has not had to shut down very much except for regular maintenance. So that's what I know about the rec center. If there's any specific questions, we can come back to them later. But yes, the transfer is large from the general fund. Our next fund would be the Senior Citizen Center. And you see a bunch of columns for different functions. They are broken down into congregate meals, home delivery meals, transportation, evidence-based homemakers, and chore functions. They're not the numbers that you see in the document. I have these. If you want any general description of the program, June is here to give you that. The one thing that I will tell you that I believe our projected contribution to these services will be about $700,000 or $800,000. That's our portion. So, when we get these final numbers created and we determine what our portion will be, we'll disclose both of them to you in the final document.
now, are there grants that help fund the senior center?
These are grants.
Oh,
These
they
are
are?
grants and special
Okay.
appropriations from the legislature.
Okay, all right.
Next is our FEMA Fund 285. Now, in this fund, we budget everything that has been authorized by FEMA up to the $140 million. That's what it was last year. There has been some spending in the construction of the water treatment plants. We had that 98 million. We have made some payments back to the state to pay the Plexus Group for that. They are handling that construction, that whole project. So that's reduced a little bit this year. You see 132 million. That's an estimate. that probably will not be spent during the year, but we budget it because it is available and authorized. And then there are other line items, one of which was authorized last night by the governing body for generators. These are other emergency authorizations and hazard mitigations from Homeland Security. So those are included in this fund. Some of them are new. That $118,000 is to buy generators for the recreation center, and I believe we have another one for the senior citizen center when we have to open emergency shelters. So that's what those are for.
Morris, has the city been reimbursed for wildfire expenditures?
Wildfire, I'm not sure. That's before me. We have been reimbursed some for the flood event that occurred almost 2 years ago. And that is, I believe, a little over 7 million. And part of that, you'll see later, was transferred to the water fund, 2.5 million. You see that on this page, $2.5 million to water, because that's where some major expenditures took place when the flood took place, and we handed out bottled water and trucked in tanker water. So that's what that's for. Next page is the E911 grant. Again, these are estimated numbers. I don't think these are actual yet. They will be for final. The next group of funds are other special funds that have a specific purpose. In our sick leave contingency fund, that's if we had a major liability for someone that had a lot of sick leave that we needed to bolster the fund for. These are always budgeted but rarely spent. These are just left the same. Like the library special fund, that's a distribution, that's the same amount every year. It is spent every year, but it has that particular purpose. In airport operations, the 104, this one is specifically, like it implies, income from fuel sales and hangar rental, and is dedicated to purchase fuel. And I think this, the additional amount requested is for the improvements out there, including a fuel farm. That whole facility, that whole service is going to be replaced and updated. So pilots can fuel their own aircraft without anybody being there. In the abatement fund, we did have, we do estimate some revenues there, but we have decreased the expenditures because our lien revenues have dropped significantly. We just haven't been collecting on liens on properties where we've had to abate them. Last year it was less than a few $1,000s, I think. So this one is a concern. We need to start collecting more revenues on abatements, enforcing liens or following up on them. And I think the city may have the option to actually pursue them before the land is sold. And I'll have that discussion with the city manager and with Mr. Marquez.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Morris, so this abatement fund, this is, if I understand correctly, this is tied to code enforcement, correct?
Correct.
So this is the fund that we use to abate properties that are considered nuisance, or
Correct.
found to be a nuisance.
Yes.
Do you think that this budget is, the budget's sufficient for that?
No. But
But it's a start.
we don't have the cash to support it. So we'll either need to generate more revenue or have an interfund transfer, either a straight transfer or a loan for increased activity. That's one thing that has been increased. There's been a lot more abatements done in the last couple of years than prior to that. So that results in this, where we had a lot of cash, but we spent a lot of it. We've done a lot of abatements, but the fund is not regenerating itself as quickly as it should.
Okay, thank you.
Next question. The city owns a bunch of properties through foreclosures or whatever it is.
Abatements and so forth.
Yeah. If they were to sell those properties, where would that money go?
Well, back when this fund was created, when I was sitting in this seat, it was intended to go to the abatement fund. But I don't know that the city has sold properties in the last few years. I believe that's the intent, but I can't give you a definite answer.
And would that be worthy of somebody coming up with a policy and procedure or a city rule of how that would happen?
The finance committee could make that policy and recommendation, absolutely.
Okay. And does anybody know how many properties the city owns? How many?
About 27, might be a little bit less, a little bit more, but we're around that ballpark. And we have liens on all these abatements that we've done the past 2 years, so we might wind up with a few more here pretty soon.
So you could possibly come up with a little bit of serious money if you were to address that, sell properties and.
Does it fall under community development?
Yeah.
Yeah.
City planner.
So you'd probably need like a part-time person just to sit there and go through it and, I'm just saying, look how big it is.
You're
That's,
probably right.
yeah, of course.
Community development, there was one person working in there, so we built it up to where it's at right now, and we're still looking to hire more people. And I'm allowed support by the council to get those things done.
Madam Chair. Mr. Madrid, am I correct in saying that there's one good example of an abatement that happened up on Sapeo Street where there's gonna be housing there, Mr. Marquez, is that so?
Yes, sir.
So, even though there's a loss of budget here, the outcome could be positive because there's an example there on Sapeo Street where there's gonna be some housing built.
Where El Alto Club used to be.
To help
Yes.
supplement the need for housing in the community, so it could be a positive thing as well.
Absolutely.
And I see it as a positive.
Mhm.
But I see it as a positive, and from my perspective, believe that we should fund the abatement fund at a higher level, because it's gonna help us to, it will help us to improve the safety and look of the community.
Right.
Health and safety.
In the court fees, those are generally the same. We collect some fees from municipal court and put them back into the court for automation and their other initiatives. That level of spending and revenues don't change very much. The traffic safety grant, these are actual numbers that have been authorized and allocated to the city by the state.
So, Morris, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, on the court fees, will that change moving forward with the speed cams and all of that? Will that have an impact on this fund?
Only, I believe it could, because if it results in greater activity at municipal court, more cases going through, then these fees could go up. I'm not sure how those cameras would affect activity at the court, because I think they don't necessarily involve the court. If Chief is here, no, he's not here. I think those generate citations automatically that go to the owner of the vehicle, not through the court.
I know
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I think what we had heard in that information was $33 of the $100 fee would go to the company that put the cameras up, and then the balance would go to the city.
Right.
Of course, we have to collect it, that's another.
Yes, and from what I understand, it does not go to the court to be assessed, it goes directly to the violator. And then when the violator pays that, the contractor gets their
portion. Would we have to create another fund just to receive that money?
If we initiate that, we may be able to include it here, but I'm not sure. We may have to establish another fund just for that.
Thank you.
The traffic safety, that one is an established one that comes every year at different levels. That's mainly, as you can see, for overtime for the police department. And you'll see that in their checkpoints that they set up. That's what these are dedicated for primarily. In the Carol Petrie Foundation, this is one that the budget has been reduced because the cash balance has been dropping. So that's what this one is dedicated for. We had been getting revenues in there. I don't know that we have gotten any recently. That's why we reduced this budget. This one is also a dedicated budget. The Police Department awards, that one is a very small one that we mainly keep it as a placeholder for if they want to make any awards. In the Veterans Memorial Fund, we did increase this one because we have a letter of agreement with the members of the VFW where they provide services like allowing us to use their honor guards and things like that for ceremonies, in the parades, whatever. And in turn, we pay for their veterans dinner on Veterans Day or buy them flags to put on the grave sites, things like that. But it is all under a letter of agreement. It's an exchange of services. There's no anti-donation issues here. The next one is the 286, the Cannabis Fund. And that one, we just budgeted what we thought was appropriate from the cash balance. That's 200,000. We're estimating we'll still have an ending cash balance. Again, these are discretionary. Last year we used it to buy parks equipment. This is another one that will be decided by the governing body. Next page, the opioid fund is same thing. Last year, much of the opioid fund was used to purchase equipment for the police department and our brand new ambulances that we have for about $600,000. And we budgeted what we estimate a safe amount from cash, again, for governing body priorities. These are unrestricted. The 4th of July Fiesta Fund. This one, we're budgeting to spend the remaining cash from there because the Lodgers Tax Fund has been absorbing all of the Fiesta costs. So this one is basically unnecessary. We're going to just expend the cash that we have because that's what this fund is dedicated for. This may be the last year of this fund existing. The Fire Prevention Fund, next page, is an estimated amount. Again, this is a recurring distribution from the state, much like the Law Enforcement Protection Fund. They get a distribution every year that they primarily use on prevention and training. They do have some money in there for vehicles. This money can be used to either finance the purchase of a fire truck or save enough money to buy a fire truck, or I think one of the things that they had done previously is buy the, what's it called, Chief, that range, open range, what's that called? For fire.
Oh, yeah, the range truck.
What's the name of that truck?
The
Brush truck, that one, yeah. They've used this type of financing to pay for those in the past. The Las Vegas Day at the Legislature, didn't have that this past year. It's budgeted at the same amount. This fund is funded totally by private contributions. So that pays for entertainment and food and things that are paid for at Las Vegas Day in Santa Fe. That's what this fund is for.
When was the last time we used that fund?
I think it was 2 years ago, but I'm not sure.
Jeez.
we may have not had Las Vegas Day for 2 years, because previous year was the incident at the water treatment plant that caused us to cancel it. I'm not sure, but I know we didn't have it this past year.
Yes, we have representation over there, and we have a booth and all that stuff. So who funds that?
Lodgers tax.
Lodgers tax. Thank you.
That's the end of the special funds. In the intergovernmental grants, the one you have in there is a state library grant. That can change from year to year. And I'm not sure whether this is the exact amount or not. If not, it will be in the final document. Now, the next group is our capital projects funds. These ones are, except for the 220, they are all for specific purposes, funded by specific sources. So in the street co-op funds, you'll see projects there, Cristone Circle, TAP funding, Cristone Circle paving. You'll see that they are funded for a specific purpose, and the revenues and the budget and the expenditures tie to each other exactly. So these ones are not discretionary, they are for a specific purpose, funded by an external entity. Next page.
No, Morris, sometimes those grants or funds come with matching fund requirements from the city.
Yes.
Where is those expenses? That would show up on the expense side, right?
They would be added in here, but almost, I can think of one exception. Most of the time, the matches, they apply for a match waiver and get it.
I get it, okay. Yeah, I know that the city's very good at applying for that waiver.
Yeah. The next page is special legislation appropriation funds. These again are capital outlays that are approved by the legislature for a specific purpose. And again, you'll see that almost entirely the revenues and expenditures line up. The exception would be if any of them are carryover funds. But again, these are authorized by the legislature. We generally have a minimum of 2 years to expend them, maximum of 4, unless we get them reauthorized. In the capital improvement fund, this is one that we have not been utilizing in the last year or two. This is another place that we're transferring money so that we can fulfill other capital projects. Again, these ones will probably come from governing body priorities. There's 1.2 million available in there. We do have the cash balance to support this and maybe even increase it if we need to. But that's one of the places we put capital improvement money. Next one, DFA capital projects. These are ones that are specifically authorized and come from Department of Finance and Administration, again, for a particular purpose. These cannot be used for administration or salaries or anything. They are for particular projects, and those are the funding levels that we have now. We do receive a lot of these during the year, and sometimes they're received and expended immediately. But this is what we have so far for the upcoming year.
Mr. Morris, and when you say you receive, so are you receiving the actual funding, or you are receiving an actual letter of an appropriation? And
we get
the process of the request for reimbursement.
From the legislation, once it's signed by the governor, the Department of Finance and Administration puts together a grant agreement that they send to the local governments that we sign and accept and bring to the governing body for approval. Then we start spending that money. We have to float that money until we can do a notice of obligation and a request for reambrsment. So we don't get the cash up front.
Right now, we're good on that department. You do have a solid department in handling these funds.
Yes.
Making sure that
This is,
we are spending it as
The
Right
letter-
now, this
the-
is mainly Robert Archuleta's job.
That's, okay, I was just gonna say, so is he still a one-man show that he does the whole thing? He handles the request for reimbursements?
Yes.
He handles getting the letter?
Acceptance and all that, getting it approved through the board and so forth,
Yes.
right?
The next one, it's called the Department of Cultural Affairs budget. This is where we put a donation that we recently got from the Carnegie Foundation of $10,000. That is dedicated to the library. It is not intended for a particular purpose, except that particular purpose being general library expenses. And that they could buy books with it, they can do children's programs. In that way, it's not restricted, except it has to be spent for the library. Next one, the rehab of taxiways. That's exactly what it says. These are all specific funding sources for airport improvements and airport projects. Some of these are carryover amounts. I believe, it looks like all of them are carryover amounts that will not be finished or probably not be finished by June 30th. These numbers may change by final budget depending on the payments we make between now and the end of June. The Main Street is both new and carryover funding. That is dedicated, again, funded by the Great Blocks Program and is for Main Street projects only. I believe this has been used for the area, Lincoln and Railroad, those two streets. And that's going to continue. Here's the one where we get the proceeds from the Recreation Center Phase 2 Construction Fund. We have appropriated what we can from the cash balances and the transfers from the Gross Receipts Fund in the amount of $650,000, again, for building, equipment, and furniture and fixtures. These have to be for the Recreation Center. So there's more money available there.
And they cannot be used for operations of the rec center?
No. Infrastructure and equipment only.
Yeah.
The next ones that, if, with your permission, I'll just skip them. They're debt service. These are mandatory payments. We have no discretion on budgeting these. We have to include them. If you want to go over them and come back and ask specific questions later, that would be good. But these are the non-negotiable ones. And they are incorporated, and we don't have any additional burden. One thing that I will tell you is that we will be meeting with the Finance Authority at some point in the next couple of months to try and see what we can refinance, extinguish, combine, extend, whatever, to save money and make these less complicated. We have so many little ones, and it really doesn't make sense. They've been accumulated over a period of years. We just need to clean them up. But I'll keep you informed as we go along on that.
Morris, where are we, where's the city on its borrowing power?
We don't know that because we haven't got a recent bond rating.
Oh.
That's one of the things that we will be doing with our new audit report. That is the tool that they use.
Yeah.
And we will be forwarding that to our RBC, Dane Rauscher, and they will help us establish a bond rating. In our fiscal capacity, I don't think we could be in better shape. The management of our revenues over expenditures versus our reserves and our annual spending is pretty darn good. So we are in excellent shape. I know that we would rate no less than a B+. We've been in this position before, and the bond rating was A-. So I think we would be in a similar position, but we'll find out.
And when do you think we'll hear that?
It probably takes 2 or 3 months for them to actually obtain the rating.
Are they hired to do that now?
Yes, they're under contract. We haven't used them in a while, though.
'Cause, do I have a good gut feel My gut feel is that the city has a fair amount of borrowing power if it wanted to use it.
We do. We do.
Okay.
And we may have used it, but because of the state budget and all the external funding that the city has gotten, we just haven't had to. Okay?
We have too much money?
Yeah.
I would say that.
We're
Going
doing
to
well.
our
We're doing
enterprise
well, right?
funds, before we get into the individual budgets, one of the concerns that I've been communicating to the council, and there was a little bit of discussion regarding it last night, is the revenues in our water fund, because of the cash balances that have been depleted, we are real anxious to get more reimbursements from FEMA to make that fund whole again, because they were very healthy before the fire and the flood. So we started with 2.5 million. We'll probably have to make another transfer during the year when we get some more money. But aside from that, the revenues in the water fund have dropped over the last year. Because of that, revenues in wastewater are going to drop. Thank you. And we need to address that. Well, one of the things that I found before I gave the finance report last week was we've experienced a drop in consumption. Okay? Now, that could be a couple of things. One of them was talked about last night. One of them was a project by some students at West Las Vegas that did a study on both the water quality and the satisfaction of the water quality within the community. And basically they found that the water quality is good. It is good. But the perception from part of the community is that it isn't as good as it should be. So that may be one of the reasons that people are drinking more bottled water and our consumption has dropped. The other reason that I know is part of the reason is we have some very outdated and old and probably slow running or non-functioning water meters that have not been replaced in over 15 years. The funding that the mayor and the manager and the director will go to NMFA to accept next week is a little over $4 million for a meter replacement program. So that's going to create more revenue because we'll have better functioning meters, we'll collect more money. But in the interim, we have to make sure that we operate within what we have. So that's what we're going to see in water and wastewater. The gas utility is in very good shape. Their cash is very good. Solid waste is okay in their reserves, but their revenues are actually rising. Their expenses are rising too because they're fully staffed, but their revenues are rising. Mainly water and wastewater are a concern, at least for the interim. So with that, I'll go to their budgets.
Morris, I have a question on that. Is it time to raise the rates? Is that a consideration for improved revenue?
No.
Why not?
Not yet, because we don't have enough information to even say that's a consideration. Because of the impact of the fire and the flood, that's had a major impact on their spending and on their cash. I don't think we should consider that until those funds are made whole and we can establish a trend on the revenues. And why are they dropping? Is that going to be permanent? I think one of the things that I can safely say the city will undertake is more information being provided to the citizens that the water is good, that it is good for drinking, it is good for cooking, and don't be afraid. You don't need to be. I think that's part of the thing that the city will undertake. But until we can establish the whys, I think that would be a reaction that I wouldn't recommend for the citizens to absorb, because we don't have the data to support it.
Okay, one last question. Harold, the county a while ago went through and scrubbed solid waste stuff. and they found that there were a lot of people not paying their bills, right?
Right.
And you adjusted, the commissioners adjusted the fee for solid waste, as I remember, and basically got the solid waste back into fairly good shape at the county level, right?
Right. Well, what we did, Madam Chair, what we did is we had an antiquated solid waste billing system. And the first thing that we did was we bought a new billing system, a new billing software. And we implemented it. And then in our ordinance, we have the right to adjust the solid waste fees based on the consumer price index, which on an annual basis, and Morris, you probably have a better answer, but it averages about 3%.
Yeah.
2.5% to 3%. So it doesn't impact the user that much if you do it annually. But if you wait 5 years and then you increase it 5 years later, it's going to be 10% versus 10 or 15% versus if you do it on an annual basis, they don't get hit as hard.
Do we do that?
No, we don't.
We set fees and then generally a long time later reset fees.
Yes.
And then another thing that we did was there was no teeth to the ordinance. If they didn't pay, there was nothing we could do. Just eat the fact that they weren't paying it. But what we have the authority to do now is place liens on their properties. And if they don't exercise the right to pay, I know that the city works different. If they don't pay, you shut their water, right?
We
And
have,
if
and
you
we
shut
do
their
have the
water,
ability to
then-
place liens also.
Yeah, or you could place liens, so,
Okay.
that's what the county did.
All right.
So in the first one is the wastewater fund. This one, we didn't revise the revenues yet. But in general, you'll see the bottom line, the expenditures have been reduced. So the operating costs are cut. This one is one that we're gonna look at along with water. So it's to operate the wastewater treatment plant and all that goes with it, it's a fixed cost. No matter how much goes through the system, it's gonna cost the same. So that's why we basically left it alone.
And is
We-
that a realistic number compared
Yes.
to prior years?
Yes, one thing that we did reduce was we did not make a transfer to wastewater construction. You'll see that transfer on the last page is not there anymore. The 225,000.
Right.
We did forego that transfer just to make this, make the cash work better. So we don't commit to anything that the cash will not support. The wastewater replacement fund, this one we didn't change. That one has its own cash balance.
Madam Chair, I just have a quick question, Mr. Madrid, if possible. The insurance on the wastewater fund is interesting. How are we getting such a deduction in rate from one year to the next?
Let me see. Which one are you referring to, Counselor?
It's like,
Insurance deductibles? That one?
yes, sir.
Okay, we have a deductible like anybody does having their home insurance. We just haven't been using it. We over budgeted it last year and we adjusted it more to what we actually pay. That's why.
Okay. Just curious, I know it's not that much in this large of a budget, but.
Yeah, that's one of the line items throughout. We say, well, that's the way we've always done it. Well, no, we need to cut it a little bit, so we did.
Thank you.
The wastewater replacement fund, we didn't have any change there. That's to allow for the system maintenance, and they do use that. wastewater construction fund, again here, we did not do the transfer from the operating fund, so we did not increase any additional system expansion or repairs or anything. This one stayed pretty much the same. The last one is debt service. These are our mandatory payments. These are the ones that are not negotiable. We have to make those payments on prior loans that have taken place there. And I think the loan was for the plant upgrade that happened I don't know, a few years ago. The next fund is the natural gas fund. This one is hard to predict because it's based on the weather. Last year, we overestimated both the revenue and expenditure side. The major parts of this budget are the cost of the gas and the revenue generated from the sale of the gas. Everything else is pretty much fixed. Those are the two major variables. The cash in the natural gas fund is very healthy. And there are some newer initiatives there. I want to highlight the group is getting better equipped, better trained. They are coming into compliance with pipeline safety requirements, and the safety equipment and the procedures and the training that they have undergone is started this during the current fiscal year and is going to continue on to next year. So I don't think that there's anything out of line in this budget. This is actually a reduction, primarily because we're being more conservative in our revenue and expenditure estimates. If we have a cold winter, a really cold winter, these numbers will blow up. We'll adjust accordingly. In the gas construction replacement fund, we have very little change there. The one thing that I will note is the Porter to Salazar gas line replacement fund. That project is completed. That's why it's not funded again. And then that's why you see a drop in the expenditures. So that's a good thing. Next is the solid waste fund. This is where our revenues are increasing somewhat. They are also fully staffed. The expenditures here are going to go up because they are fully staffed, which means they have more compensation, more benefits, more trucks on the road, more fuel for those trucks. They have more people working because we have more amnesty days. That's a good thing. And if you've been there like I have, you've noticed a better service. And that's built into this budget. We have increased somewhat the line item for equipment. However, let's see, one thing that I want to highlight. Oh, that's it in solid waste. Everything else is the same. Like I said before, we did reduce the amount of the contribution, the transfers out from these funds. And you'll see we reduced the transfer in utility services and to the solid waste construction fund. There will be a major project for the transfer station renovation that got funded just recently, that RIP grant that will be utilized to renovate the transfer station itself. So that's why we're going to use that money before we use this money.
Morris?
Yes.
Does this budget for solid waste say it's time to raise the fees for solid waste?
No.
Why?
Well, because we don't have
budget, isn't it? Well, I'm using the wrong words. What's a big deficit budget? Did I read it right?
Well, we budget,
Revenues
just
of
like the
3
general fund, we budget revenues and reserves, both. So that's not it doesn't mean the fund has a deficit. It means that we have reserves that we can spend in addition to the revenues generated,
Right.
just like the general fund.
Yeah.
We are not in a negative balance.
No, I didn't mean to imply that, but does this mean, I mean, this says the revenue, expected revenue is 3.8 million, the expected expenses is 4.1. Is it time to start thinking about it? Rate increase for solid waste?
No, because we have, if there was an established trend, and we had the data to support that, then an increase in rates would be too reactive. The first thing we would do is we would stop capital improvements. We say, okay, we're gonna have to hold off on projects. We're not gonna be able to make those transfers to the solid waste construction fund. We'll dedicate it all to operations. If that trend continued, then we would try and operate more efficiently. If it still continued, then maybe we look at rates. But we're not that far along. We're not in that type of a condition.
So how much, as of the end of this year, how much positive carry forward do we have in the solid waste fund?
At the end of June?
Yeah, this
For
coming
this year,
June.
what are we projected?
Yeah.
That's on the summary sheet, right?
Yes.
For solid waste, as of right now, is 1.2 million.
So we have 1.2 million of future deficit spending until we get to a problem. And we're gonna spend, 1.2 million. No,
We have 1.2 million as of today.
yeah,
That's not counting the revenues we're gonna be collecting.
okay. Food for thought, those 4 years.
We're gonna have to wait and see now.
Okay, in solid waste construction, your point, we did not make any transfers. We only made one transfer from the solid waste operating fund, and that's for professional services. The grant for the renovation requires that we have some skin in the game and we contribute to that. This is gonna be mainly for plan and design, is that correct, Mr. Marcus? So that's what the solid waste construction fund will be dedicated to this year, is to assist with that renovation. That's it for solid waste. Water is, oh, Travis is here, okay, good. This one, we have seen, as I talked about a little while ago, some reduction in revenues consumption. However, because of a lot of the compliance that is required by water through the Environment Department, and this is a progression, and Travis can tell you a lot better than I can about the progress that the Water Department has made in the quality of water. The Water Department had been under scrutiny for the last 2 or 3 years for not meeting some of the testing requirements. They are meeting them now. They need to be continued, and they have continued over the last year. Some of the restrictions have been released. You will see some increases in expenditures. The biggest one is nothing that the Water Department can control in processing fees for credit card payments. These are very high. These are something that were adjusted more to an actual level. We have been under budgeting, and this is a concern that we need to look at for finding another way to allow people to make payments without these processing fees to be so high. I don't know how that or when that agreement was negotiated, but we need to fix this part. And that's something that I'll bring to the committee when I have more information.
Madam Chair, so you're going through a certain finance institution for the credit card.
It's not an institution, it's a service.
Service?
Yeah, and it's way too expensive.
And is there a time limit on it?
I don't know. It's been in place for years, and I haven't seen the actual agreement.
So what if the city considered doing an RFP for the service?
That's probably what's gonna end up happening.
That way there's competition out there that will try to get it for a real low fee.
Yes, and they're negotiable, so that's a good point, Commissioner. Within the water fund itself, operating expenses, there has been major reductions undertaken by the department. In the utilities, we've reduced utilities to closer to actuals, but in the maintenance areas, we reduced the request last year for building structures and land from 500,000 to 50,000. These are all measures to make sure that we stay within the cash balance. This does include the $2.5 million reimbursement from FEMA. This fund will get better as we get reimbursed. It's just taking a long time. So that is the overview of the water fund. The water replacement fund, again, it works off of the water fund itself. We have foregone any system expansion in the budget. Again, these could be budget adjustments as we get reimbursed, but until we get those reimbursements, we cannot assume when they're coming because they've been very slow. Same thing in water construction fund. We're not making that $850,000 transfer. In the water GRT fund, you'll see the projects that have been finished, some that are ongoing, and I don't think we have any new ones, not that are being funded here. Like I told you before, you're gonna have some new ones that are gonna be funded by the Water Trust Board in over $40 million. When those are done, we'll add them to this budget. So, that'll come before the governing body. That will probably happen, I hope. I know it'll be public information, may not be reduced to a document by final budget. So hopefully we'll have those amounts in the final budget document. Then we have the same amount that we budget every year for water rights. I think you'll be seeing requests for proposal for water rights in the next month or so. And maybe we'll be able to acquire more water rights, have more capacity. That's what that fund is for. In utilities administration. Utilities administration, first one, these are, like it says, administration. There's basically no increase. As a matter of fact, there's a decrease in the overall transfers from the other enterprise funds to support this fund. There's basically no change in the administration fund or in utility services. They're basically the same amount. The only changes are required for compensation and benefits. The last fund is our automated system financing. That's our IT department. The IT department is supported by transfers from the general fund, from our utilities funds, even our capital projects funds. So this has gone up a little bit because the staffing has gone up. Some of the positions are not paid from here, but in the final document, you may see additional staffing. The demand and the service requirements for our internal IT services has gone up and has improved significantly. Again, here's a department that does not generate revenue, but is essential to the city. So I think this might be the last one, transportation, is our transportation program, our city bus system. These amounts are somewhat dictated by the state. Some of the percentages are 50-50, some of them are 80-20. We do cost share this program. I think these are final numbers that shouldn't change before the final budget, but if there would be any changes, it would be in the city's contribution. That is the overview of the budget the document that you see in front of you. I think I included all the highlights and concerns. Again, this is a living document, will be updated and finalized by July 31st for submission to the state. Stand for any questions?
You've been collecting significant interest earnings.
Yes.
Lately. Where is that in these budgets? Is that
In
anywhere?
the general fund, you'll see it under other income. And we reduced that from over 5 million to 4-point-something million because the money that we had in the state treasurers and local banks, we will be reimbursing the state for the construction of the water treatment plant. So those interest revenues will be dropping.
So have we been told where we can spend that money?
We don't spend that money. We forward it to the state. The state has taken over that project and they request reimbursement from us. We send payment to the New Mexico Environment Department, who in turn pays the Plexus Group for that project.
So that's not available to the counselors to spend?
No.
No, sir.
Anybody, any more questions?
I have a few questions, Madam Chair. You know, there was a little bit of discussion, I'm gonna touch on 4 topics. Is there going to be, I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I'm assuming that you're asking for recommendation to approve the proposed budget to the council?
Yes.
Can we make some notes, some special notes on maybe some consideration by the
Yes.
council?
Yes.
You know, so we discussed the housing, $150,000 a year payment.
Yes.
And there was a discussion of maybe just paying it all and foregoing that. Is there, in your knowledge, is there a way to request that the Federal Housing Authority forgive us on that penalty that was assessed? And I'm gonna try to touch on an opportunity that we could use for leverage. You know, the fires that happened. Because of the fires that happened, because of the flooding that has happened, it's made a big impact to the budget for operating, for the entire organization. So maybe we could plead with them to forgive what's owed. I mean, it would be a good try, and the best they can do is say, yes, we're gonna forgive it. But let's say that they say no to it. Is there any leverage in the budget to ask for consideration by the council? And of course, it would have to go through you because you're the one in charge of the budget. Is there any way to ask that they allow the city to pay it, such as Councilor Martinez suggested?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, so that's gonna be one, and then there's 3 others. So another one is the abatement that Councilor Pacheco alluded to. That budget has been compromised and it's being cut. And it's a very effective tool because the outcome, as you can see on Sapeo Street, the housing units that are gonna be built there was an abated property. So it's been worth the investment that the city made into it, but that budget is being cut. As it's being used, it's not being replenished. Is there any way that you, as a finance manager, can look at some numbers so that it doesn't impact the budget negatively, but yet you can add more money for abatement.
What I'd
So that-
recommend, Commissioner, is that this committee make the recommendation that the city transfer enough money to the abatement fund from the general fund so that it remains at the same level.
Okay, so
That is appropriate.
So I'm gonna touch on two more and then I'm gonna make my recommendation. So then the next one, abatement has been very successful because you have a successful code enforcement program. But there's vacant positions in the code enforcement, and I know that you have to go through
HR?
through HR and are you still, union? Are you still represented by the union? Do you have to do union negotiations? Do you have to go through all that?
For some things, not for everything.
Okay.
I believe that we can set our own compensation
Okay.
for positions,
Okay.
if that's what you're getting at.
Okay, so then that ties in to abatement and it ties into code enforcement. It shows that the code enforcement has been very effective. Thank you, Mr. Marquez, for making that possible. Is there any way that a recommendation could be made to increase the pay scale so that those vacancies can be filled?
Absolutely.
Because I really think that $16 an hour or 18, whatever, wherever it's at, I don't think that's enough. And then the last one is the credit card fees. I think it's important because people don't want to pay their utilities with their credit card if the credit card is going to be a 50% increase or whatever.
Right.
So I would suggest that. Yeah, do an RFP, give you direction or give whoever is in charge, the council give whoever's in charge, the manager rather, to give the manager direction to look at doing a request for proposals for credit card fee services, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So those are my four subjects that I would like to recommend right now, in a form of a motion, that those four be considered, be brought before the council, before mayor and council and I think that there was enough dialogue here on those four issues. There may be one or two more that the rest of the committee here may have, but those are four that I'm going to recommend in the form of a motion. And I'm making that motion right now, Madam Chair,
I'll second it.
that these four issues be taken to the council, because I think it'll make, the program, the four programs that we're talking about to go forward, continue going forward. So I make that motion, Madam Chair.
So we have a motion from Mr. Garcia for these four
Madam Chair.
items, and we also have a second.
I have a question. Does that motion include the recommendation to approve the budget in addition to those four?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. It's a well-written budget, but I think those four topics there are urgent because, I mean, it would be so nice if the housing forgoes the penalty. I mean, the punishment should be forgiven. The abatement, the code enforcement, and the credit card fees. I think those four topics would be good caveats to add to us recommending to approve the budget.
Understood, and they're valid, and I appreciate that.
All in favor?
Aye. Can we take a roll call,
Unanimous.
Madam Chair?
Okay, let's take a roll call. We have Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Dominguez.
Yes.
Counselor Pacheco. He
don't
can't.
vote.
He abstains, I'm sorry. Ms. Sena.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Garcia
Yes.
and Mr. Witters.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to make a comment in reference to that, the fees associated with with the card system that we have currently. We need to make sure that we consider what kind of a contract we have. Of course, I mean, that's something that we need to look into to make sure that it's
Not a 5-year
possible, yeah, that we're
It's a
not within
5-year
a,
contract.
correct, yeah. I mean,
Understood, and we will. Madam Chair, the next item before adjournment is setting the next meeting for the third week of July for the final approval of the budget. However, I may request a special meeting in June just to address how often we want to meet and where we want to meet. Second Monday, third Monday in the chambers, want to be monthly, quarterly, those things to consider. I'll contact the chair for scheduling that meeting, but just something to keep in mind. But we will have to have a meeting in July to review the final document before it goes to council.
So we don't meet in June then?
We will at some point, but we'll need to figure out that date for a special meeting. So if there are days that are out of the question or not, times of the day that are not possible, I'd relay that to the chair so that her and I can coordinate on when the best day of the week and best time of the day is.
And they normally don't last this long. They just last maybe like an hour and a half at the most, you know, but they've been, in the past, they've been like on a Monday at 2:00, or is it 3:15?
It was the third Monday of every month.
Right, so it's
And,
not,
and sometimes the only thing we have is the budget report.
right.
But you stay informed. And even when we don't have the meetings, we will forward you the information as if we were gonna have a meeting. So
Just
the
don't-
information will flow whether we meet or not.
I'm used to it.
I do, to me, I was ready to say I need to stand up. We've been sitting a long time. Okay.
I just have one comment, Madam Chair. I just want to, in terms of the comments, I know there's a lot of information in the budget. And I heard some of we notice the increase in some of the utilities, the water, the gas, the solid waste, which are services that we require in the city. And I just want to say as a councilman, from my perspective, and I appreciate that being brought up for discussion, but it equates to a better service all the way around. I just want to say that with some of our directors in the room, because it's a noticeable difference in my mind. If you, I mean, our water and the way that it is tested and the way that it is available on a regular basis compared to maybe years in the past, the way those are being handled, our gas department, and we'll have some exciting information coming out about that department soon. I'm sure that you all see I make this observation all the time, and I've said it a bunch of times already, but when you come off Las Vegas on that last exit, just take a look over at the Solid Waste Center. Think of how that looked a year or two ago and look at what it looks like now. That's what the increase to the service has provided. So I think it's a service that we should have probably already had, always had. Maybe it was underfunded initially, and maybe that's why we didn't have what we should expect as a community. But I think now we have the levels that we need to have the service that we should expect as citizens and consumers of these products and services.
Madam Chair. Before we adjourn, I would like to publicly thank my team. They are awesome. I guarantee you.
Thank you.
You could take me out of the equation completely and get the same result. They are good. Thank you.
So which one should take the job?
If it's a budget cut, I should be the first one.
And I want to say thank you to finance.
Yes,
Thank you to you.
Yes.
You make the budget easy for us to view. Thank you to his team. All the questions that came up. I know I'm asking for a deliverable in the middle of the meeting because I like my stuff electronic, and they were able to do it. So thank you both very much.
Awesome. Anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Witters. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Don't run away, you guys. They're not this long, I swear.